Yeah, it's crazy. It's production work.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Shacknews, Why Word of Electronic Sports, episode 137. I cannot believe there's been this many episodes, and we are in a treat for a very, very special episode. I'll be your host with the most, is Rodney Conyers Jr. My right-hand man and left-hand man is going to be Denny Von Doom, our technical director, doing the damn thing as always. Big shout out to Denny. But last, and certainly not least, you know him, you love him, and if you don't know him, guess what? You're probably going to end up loving him afterwards. Jordan Legion Payton joins the show. Mr. Legion, how are you doing, my friend?
Man, I feel like you just gave away my IRS info, my full name on there, the whole thing. You know,
Go get him.
You think I should change my middle name legally now to my gamer tag? I feel like we should all be there at this point.
I think so too. My gamer tag is just my name though. So Rodney Conyers Jr., Rodney Conyers. It doesn't roll off the tongue.
Yeah, but you got the branding down. That's really all that matters in this industry, right? So it just carries over, you know? And how many Rodney Conyers Juniors are there? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you gotta be the Rodney at this point, you know? Just take over the name in general.
That's true. And if I'm not, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna find the other one and I'm gonna behead him. You know, I gotta do it. He has to go.
We're gonna
be
fight
only
to the death.
There can be only one.
I like this. Rodney's a little violent. It's crazy.
That's right, man. But yo, Jordan, how are you doing today, man? Before I get out here and start finding all the other Rodneys and tearing them up, how is the one and only Jordan Payton doing today?
Good, man. I was doing some recon work for the Rodneys, and then I just kind of now I'm here. Now I've warned them of your location, which is close to me. So now I'll meet somewhere in the middle in a cornfield and call it a great. What is today? Tuesday? Today's Tuesday. Yeah
right. Well, you definitely know a bit about cornfields, unfortunately, man. Can't get enough of those Heartland cornfields. Danny, you know too. You just got to drive through Iowa, man. It's right there. Come hang out with us.
Hey, you know, I am a University of Missouri grad. Okay, so I know plenty about fields.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
You've been on the zoo.
Yeah, you're familiar with I-70 and all the weird random porn shops with barbecue shops mixed in around the whole drive.
And speed traps everywhere. Yeah,
have you not seen that, Rodney? It's like what was that movie, The Vampire from Dusk Till Dawn, where they meet at like that bar with that scene? That's the whole strip basically to St. Louis. You're just you don't see anything, and then it's just a random XXX sign in Passions or like whatever else.
A bunch of like bikers outside, you know.
Yeah, a bunch of people that might kidnap you and you just disappear. So that's not my vibe at night.
Yeah, no, me neither. I've been to St. Louis once, man. Like in 2016, I went to UGC. I don't even know if it's still open.
So they I haven't seen them run any events, but they do a lot of stuff with collegiate esports now.
Okay.
So yeah, they're running like high school esports, which is crazy. Because can you imagine us getting scholarships when we were in high school for esports? Would have been crazy.
Dude, we're definitely going to talk about that too, because I'm very upset that millennials were the test subjects for what the Zoomers get to enjoy today. I want my damn scholarship to play video games. But before we get to that, we got to talk about you and your history in gaming. So for those that know of you and they know your work, they know that you're one of the funniest people, one of the most prolific people out there in the internet. Not even just gaming, entertainment, just entertainment in general. I follow you on Twitter. You're a very funny
You're
guy.
gassing me up, Rodney. This is crazy. I feel blessed today.
Ronnie's the hype man. You need to have him around.
This is the guy I want at every live event doing the intro 100%.
Dude, I got the mic, man. You just name it, man. I'll pull it out. I'll gas you up, dude. I'll narrate your whole life if you want me to, Jordan.
I like that.
Really pulled the mic out.
And now he's showering.
You just have that thing on deck just in case there's some random Smash local in the vicinity. You have the microphone prepped and ready to rumble. I love it.
It's like back in the day when we used to wear basketball shorts under our clothes for everything because you just never knew when the game might break out at church.
Yeah, that's true. 100%.
Yeah, those
you
were
catch
different
the kids
days.
smoking behind the youth group hall, and then next thing you know, you're playing basketball, and then pastor comes out and starts doing whirlwinds. You're like, what's happening? I don't know what's going on. Like Pastor Jeff just stepped his game up. I guess they were young too at one point,
That's very fair. Very fair. They were a little bit more spry, a little more youthful back in the day. Dunking in the name of the Lord.
I got 6 kids, you know what I'm saying? But they gotta put on. So
that's right. So dude, let's rewind like all the way to the beginning. Like, dude, what got you into gaming? Like what was your game of choice like baby Jordan Payton?
Dude, so for me it was Halo 100%. Like that's what got me like into competitive. So I'm from Kansas City, and I remember being like an 8 or 9-year-old kid, and my parents would drive me around downtown. I saw because you know how they used to do it back in the day. I mean, it's still this way for grassroots stuff, but it was literally like a yard sale sign. It was like, play Halo for money here. And I was like, oh man, that'd be cool. And then I saw the True Life MTV right when Halo 2 came out with like Walshy, T-Squared, like all those OG Halo pros. And I was like, oh, I want to like do this. And then USA Network, man, they used to have Halo 2 tournament matches on the USA Network in like 2005, 2006. So I was like, oh, this is something I want to do. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was wild.
Dude, I completely spaced on that. Oh my God, the nostalgia. What the fuck? Oh my God, dude. I'm not going to use the old word, but we're getting up there. We're not getting old. We are just getting up there is all.
29, Rodney, Yeah. 29. That's old now in video games.
I'm like, you said that, and I was like, there's the pause there. Like, oh my God, what is it? 30? Are we getting close to 30 now? What is this?
This is just crazy.
Man, you know what? It's a mindset. All right, it's us all it is, friends. As long as we stay youthful up here, it doesn't matter what happens.
Very true.
Hey, for real. Look, I never put a time frame on anything age related. You got people like Ava DuVernay out here, winning Academy Awards. That she didn't start directing until she was 40. Like it's big moves.
You never know. Most stand-up comedians don't make it till they're in their mid 30s or late 30s. So we're technically ahead of the game, fellas. This is we've been in it longer than here. True that. So
I want to know, like, what type of Halo player were you? And I asked this question. My younger brother was just here. He dropped me off some early birthday gifts. Brandon, if you're watching this, big shout out to you. I love you. And he was more of a tame online Halo player. But then, he had some buddies that were like, spewing them, the crazy stuff online and going crazy and talking about things that they would do to my mother and things. If she was around.
It's when I found out my mother had sexual relations with more people than I would have ever thought was on Xbox Live back in the day.
Right. Insane.
I could have had one of many daddies, according to my Xbox Live messages after a blowout match at Team Slayer.
That's insane.
They didn't know what to do. No, man, I got really competitive really fast. So I went from basically being like a fat little kid to being like a fat middle schooler who was a sweat lord at the game. So I always, even to this day, like to kind of just try to get in people's heads when I'm playing it, but not in a way that is mean, but more so in a way that, like, if I can pull you away distraction wise, like at a LAN or something, that's the fastest way to get people out of it. Also, I have this strategy, and you've probably done this too because you've been in a multitude of games, but like, if you make somebody think they're going to have an easy match, they literally pull back a lever, and then that's when you just go full throttle, and then they're on their hind legs at that point. That's always been what I've done. I'm like, oh, I'm the nice funny guy. And then with the team, I'm like, listen, we're going to kick these kids' ass. We just need to get together. We're going to hit this and push this. And sometimes it works. Other times they're just too good for you, and then you get blown out. But at least there's content made from it. So
that's true. I've had to do that a few times, man. I used to pull up to the locals, like the fighting game locals, and people would think, "Oh, well, right, if you commentate, like you don't really play, man. Like there's no way you play these games at a semi-professional level to commentate them. You just talk." I'm like, "Yeah, man, just talking. So let's do it." And then, I got to give them the hands a couple times. You know what I mean? And then
And
they
then
get
you blow them out, and then they don't know how to feel about that. You know?
I respect the strategy. You know.
That's right.
The best feeling, Denny, when you show up somewhere and everyone underestimates you, and then you just you throw down a hammer. And then the best part is because if you got a cheerful attitude, it's almost accidentally condescending. Because then afterwards, like, oh man, hey, great game. And then they're even more frustrated with you because you're not a dick. So it's like this. It just keeps going.
Yeah, they want a story to tell. Like this guy was an asshole, but then it's not. You know, none of that happened. So then they're just like, yeah, I just got destroyed. But you know, he said good game.
Yep. Every time, man.
Where do we go from here?
So give me some of like your craziest moments in Halo. And I know there has to be a lot because there was a time where like, you know, the shooters and like the Smash community crossed paths at events. And I have like stories from both sides of like Halo getting kind of crazy, Melee getting kind of crazy. So I know you have some as somebody who's been around since the beginning, basically.
Yeah, I mean, the Gears of War is unmatched in terms of tournaments and what kind of hype levels the players could get from that player base. But so the first major I went to was MLG Orlando 2009, so it would have been the national championship. So I'm pretty sure they had Smash.
Yep.
So I think it was Smash, Gears, Halo, and then maybe World of Warcraft at that point was like in competitive. And yeah, man, I mean, you could just hear from across the arena them going off. And my favorite memory was you're talking about UGC earlier. UGC Atlantic City, like 2018.
Okay.
They did it in a casino basement where they hosted this tournament. And I show up, and you know how it is when you get to a tight room, like that sound just echoes off everything. And they had security guards, like I noticed, were like going inside of like this venue space. And you got, you know, players with their children and their children's mothers behind them, you know, yelling at the other moms on the other side of the thing, them gaming at it. And I hear the security guard go, I think we're going to need some backup. And I leaned in and I was like, no, this is just trash talk. Like, watch what happens when it's done. They're screaming at each other, calling them every name under the book. As soon as the game's done, GG's, all the dap ups, all the high fives, it's over with. She was like, oh, I thought that was going to escalate. I was like, it has before. Like, I've seen some fights. I saw a kid get body slammed once in a Halo tournament. I've had dads threaten players in events that I played in. I mean, I got threatened as like a 13-year-old because I was beating some adult ass as a child at some Halo events back in the day. But for the most part, like everybody's cool. So I also got threatened once. A guy said he had a knife in his car, which was crazy to me.
In his car? Okay, buddy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And even then, I was like, "Cool, I'll just call the police while I'm running." Like I don't, I don't know, like what? But yeah, man, people get wild at these things. But that's what the good parts are about. 99% of it, and they make up all those memories. And you can't trade in all those land memories for nothing. So
true, that's true. Now wait a minute, I gotta know about the knife story because like you say you got a knife in the car. First and foremost, I'm not gonna let you get anywhere close to me with the knife. I'm already like
Peaky Blinders. Like,
yeah. He was like, "I've got a freaking knife in a car for you, big boy." And I was like, "Okay." No, we blew this dude out like 6-0, did real disrespectful, and we were like using like melee weapons and all this stuff. And it was just one of those things where I think he said his thought out loud, but he was never the kind of guy that was ever going to do anything like that. But yeah, it just made me really laugh out loud because I was like, "Well, this is, buddy, it's a search and destroy match." Like what? Like let's tone it down. But I have definitely the body slam was one I'll never forget. My favorite was back in the day. So I don't know if did you guys go to any of the old MLG events back in the day?
I had barely missed MLG 2015, which would have been the last one for Smash. All the earlier ones I was
New Orleans. I was there for that one in New Orleans. I was there. But so they used to have free play at these video game tournaments. So basically you could come in, warm up with your team. It was like a good way to kind of get like yourself grounded, like in your little LAN scenario. And then what happened is people were coming in groups, right? So you'd have like 6-7 people and they'd come in a group, huddled, and then they would steal the Xbox straight from the station with all the games and the monitors and just walk out. Like people, because you could spectate for free at some point early on. So people would just come in and they took away the free play because they were just jacking all of the consoles and video games. And then they had to have like security for that. But yeah, it was crazy. Which I think they brought it back now because we just had a Halo event here in Kansas City and there was free play.
I mean, if you got security around, then yeah, you can bring it back. But if no one's watching the stations, then yeah, that's
But what are you going to do? You're going to stop a group of 15 people from hijacking a bunch of consoles? Like, absolutely not.
That's actually true. True.
But
It's a mastermind concept, but man, is that fucked. That is fucked up.
Yeah, ruined it for all of us, you know? I was 16.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I came here on my Best Buy $8.50 an hour salary here via airplane. I'm trying to get all the playtime I can in on land.
There you go. Dude, did you go to that Halo event that just happened in KC about a month or two ago, right?
Yeah, it was April. I did some work with Xbox and Halo for some content there, for some Burning Question stuff. And Midwest is undervalued, man. We've got a lot of really good. If you went to University of Missouri, then you know Columbia even had like a pretty decent scene for esports there that's continuing to develop. Maryville Esports in St. Louis is also blowing up right now. But
yeah, they got some stuff going on out there.
It was good, man. We got a lot of talent here that's usually hidden, but I think the event went super well, and it was cool seeing $250,000 put into an event here for KC, which has never been seen before. So pretty dope.
Yeah, very dope. I'm happy like esports is definitely on the rise in the Midwest because like, dude, some of my earliest memories from esports came from this region of the world, and I was like, dude, esports, in my little opinion, you know, my little Omaha, Nebraska opinion, I was like, there's tournaments everywhere. We're thriving. And then like I left and went to like Kylie for the first time and seeing like what esports really looks like with money and stuff backing it. And I'm like, okay, got it. This is what this shit looks like. But maybe we can get this yeah, we're starting to intermingle. Now I was like, hopefully we can get this in the Midwest one day. You know, they just opened another gaming lounge in KC. They've been doing some tournaments there. Level Up
Arena. Yeah, Level Up Arena. Yeah. Yeah, pretty lit. I've seen I've been in there a couple times just to check out the facilities, and they definitely give off like that old school MLG like main stage vibe, which I feel like part of the appeal is just feeling like you're in a different environment. And with COVID these last couple of years, like it's been entirely different to see how the landscape is for tournaments. I don't know about really the fighting game scene as much, but everything is pretty much transitioned to online almost exclusively for like what I do. So like all the Warzone events, like it was crazy because we were playing like 100Ks, 50Ks, 25Ks like every week for like 2 years in 2020 through really probably the last 6 months. And think about like where we come from at a younger age was like I was playing for $150 max split, you know, 500 prize pool, 150 for me, and I'm playing 14 hours in a non-air conditioning room in somewhere in Kansas. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's just crazy to see how it's exploded over the course of the last decade. It's nuts.
Dude, that's why I was so excited, like, when we would come down for Game Cats. I think we came down maybe 2 or 3 times to stream. And I was like, all right, man, I know I'm going to have to commentate this whole thing, and that's fine. But as long as I get to do it in, like, air-conditioned environment and, like, there's actual, like, real people running this and not, like, smashers, like, I'm like, okay, I can go to Game Cats. I'm fine. But there's, like, other tournaments that were held at, like, churches and stuff around the area that were like, why is there no AC? Like, how did Jesus not believe in air conditioning? Like, what is this about? Like, what is going on?
Jesus would have turned the air on if he'd have been there. He'd have just he snapped his fingers. It would have been incredible. But no, I know exactly where you're coming from. I mean, Game Cats is really funny. So my girlfriend her family used to run this LAN center here in Kansas City. So talking about Rodney, you reached out to them and were like, hey, can I come down and cast this event? And I think you sent like a reel at that point. And I've been doing content for a long time, so I'd already been probably 4 or 5 years into the game at that point when you'd reached out. And I like looked at his reel, I was like, yeah, get this guy in here immediately. Like, this guy is gonna probably pop off. And then it's like I see you working with Shacknews and casting and hosting all these different tournaments and stuff like that, running it. I'm like, that's what I love to see. Like people that want to do this, like Rodney didn't like they don't like realize that you've got to commit. You know, it's like luckily I had great parents that let me live with them while I was beginning all this, you know, because that was helpful for me. But like, you commit to this, you're balls deep forever, basically.
That is
so. It's cool to see. It's cool to see your rise and watch you doing all this awesome stuff that you've been doing in the scene.
Dude, same to you now, dude. You been sponsored a few times, few different teams, man. You working with Taco Bell. What has all of that been like? I mean, again, coming from literally here we are in the heartland part of the Midwest, you know, the part that everybody likes to call the flyover states. Nobody does anything cool here. I'm like, no. I know some cool people. I know this guy named Jordan Payton. He does some cool shit. All right, what's all that been like for you?
Man, I tell you what, it's been surreal. I'm working on a partnership right now that I get a launch basically in the next week, and I can't wait to share that because I think I'm the only gamer that's ever worked with this company, so that's going to be crazy. But getting to work with like Taco Bell, DiGiorno, you know, I did an auto trader thing. I finally got to work with Best Buy, which was entirely like a full circle experience because I worked for them for 5 years before I became a full-time content creator. And man, it's just also real. It's a blessing, like to get to work with these brands, and then also to kind of help them segue into the gaming space, so they can kind of have more of an organic fit. You know, a lot of times you see companies come in and they're like, "Hey, gamers," and you're like, "Wait a second, like why is this random company like for car squeegees or whatever like trying to make a name for themselves in this?" But I think content in general is just becoming a lot more interconnected. And what I like about the gaming scene is really after that Fortnite boom, guys, like it exploded. Money started coming into the video game scene you've never seen before, and it just became more of a global acceptance thing. Like when we were kids, I told people what I did. They were like, "Oh, you travel to play video games?" Like some people thought it was cool. Most people were like, "What the hell does that even mean?" You fast forward today, and you've got 12-year-olds playing Pokemon tournaments in Europe, cashing out, people getting esports scholarship, like all this crazy stuff. So it's cool to see it become more widely accepted and widely known for sure.
Yeah, and I feel like it's just too late. Like not too late in a bad way, but it's just like, damn, like I wish I know we talked about this before the show started. I was like, I wish we all could have had that. Like millennials were like the test subjects for like all the little cool things that they wanted to do today. Like I used to teach, my students have laptops. When I was a kid, I used to hear stories of kids in California or like somewhere in New York that like get laptops for school. Now every kid has a laptop and an iPad. I'm like, I wanted a laptop. I wanted the iPad. I wanted the MySpace in the back of the class. Where's mine?
Especially with cloud gaming the way it is right now. Like, can you imagine? Like, I played a Fortnite tournament last week, 25 grand. It was literally through a web browser. Like, can you imagine being able to pull, like, we had Club Penguin. Imagine being able to just pull up Fortnite on your personal laptop in class and be playing at 60 frames and not have to load a game or download anything. Like, it's just crazy to me to see how, like, advanced. Yeah, we didn't have laptops, Rodney. Like, they started when I was in high school. Like, you could use it in class, but we didn't get to take it home. It was like,
I mean, we did have, so since there was like a private, server connection for our laptops, someone in my class did manage to get a Halo demo running on that thing, and we had some solid LAN sessions going on in the middle of class. It was hype. We would have some hype games in there in our high school class. But I'm sure it's a lot different now, They might have some firewalls up there or something, but just the Steam store completely blocked.
VPN, baby. That's what they were doing. We had a kid that was like white hatting in high school that was like breaking. He was shut down like all the firewall things for the day, and then people just get on whatever they wanted, like on the computers. But yeah, it's crazy to see how we've advanced, man. But that's awesome, dude. I remember seeing kids getting ISS, like in school suspension, and they'd be playing like Halo 1. And I'm like, should I go do something wrong so I can just go in here and land all day?
Hello.
Like, what am I missing out on here?
Yeah, like literally just raise your hand. Excuse me, Miss Teacher Lady. I fucking hate this place. All right, go to ISS. All right, I'm on my way.
Let's not give the impressionable minds any bad ideas, guys.
That's true. That's true.
You stay in school, you study your arithmetic, unless you don't really care about math, and then focus on your English. All right, literature.
It is funny you mentioned that, Denny, because I like my outlook on video games was actually hyper realistic, even as a kid, like trying to be pro. Because I just realized that there was a high chance that it wasn't going to happen just because of how small. I've always been a numbers guy, so I'm like, okay, top 4 teams. This is what 15 years ago, maybe making 60 grand a piece a year, maybe, which is good salary. But let's be honest, like. Maybe, and you've got to be the top 12 players in the entire world to be cashing out enough to like maybe afford to do some apartment in a big city. So it's just crazy. I was like, well, whatever. So I did. I stuck to school. I never had a detention in high school once. How is that possible? Because I have a mouth that just doesn't shut up.
But you know what, though? You're funny. See, you're very funny, and being funny is all about comedic timing. Maybe you just picked your points to talk a lot better than some of the other people.
Sometimes you know where to push the limit and then where to stop, if depending on which teacher it is to you.
That's right.
It was a practice session for real life, I guess, huh? Just trying to finesse our way around the system of verbal acrobats.
That's right, man. Just roasting all your teachers. Oh, I didn't mean it. It's just practice, mister. I didn't
sorry,
actually
Mrs. Smith, my bad. That's how I talk at 17.
Yeah.
Like a toddler.
Yo, so the online gaming, I know you talked about that, and obviously because of the pandemic, we've all had to experience online gaming in various ways, whether it be good or bad. What's your experience been like? Because I know you don't only just play Halo, you play a multitude of other games. Have they all been good for you? Have they been a little troublesome? Like, what's been going on there, man?
Man, I tell you what, I peaked competitively with Warzone, which is incredible because like we talked about, 29 is old for esports now. So Fighting games, I think you can get away with it, keep going, get a little older, and keep riding it out. Just because there's so much practice involved with that, like it's not like a shooter where you can pick it up and be 17 years old and be an absolute gunner. There's a lot that goes into the fighting game stuff. But with Warzone, I mean, it came out, I full sent it. I was like, all right, God help me figure out what I need to do now, because it was like a dead time in games. Warzone drops, man. We go crazy, streams quadruple. Obviously, we're stuck where nobody can go do anything, so that was probably a big bonus for most people that were doing content full time. But it was just crazy to see the influx of tournaments, Call of Duty kind of back on a pedestal, seeing every major creator playing the game. And the Fortnite's been coming back hard for the last couple of months as well, so I've been dabbling into that. It's been a lot of fun with the
no build mode has definitely been taking off.
So fun, Denny. I can't it's addicting because the people that you couldn't beat, you can beat easily now.
That's right.
They're not building an entire mansion in front of you. Yeah,
I don't know how to shoot through that, and what kind of wood, steel, brick I need to be gunning down. I don't. Just let me catch you in an open field. You can't do anything at that point.
There you go. See, that's where I'm coming from too. Like the building thing. Like my students used to be like, "Nah, Mr. Rodney, like this is the new thing. Like you build and then X, Y, and Z." I'm like, yeah, nah, man, it's not me. Now, but when I heard no build mode came out, we actually talked about it on the show for like 30, 40 minutes. Like, that shit's the truth.
It's so fun. Like, Fortnite's just one of those staple games that I don't feel like... They're one of the few games that I feel like goes through iterations and maintains its popularity. I just think there's something about that style of graphics. Also, it's a legacy game now. I mean, it literally put... You could argue like H1Z1, DayZ, PUBG, put it on the map, but Fortnite built the next 10 years of gaming, in my opinion. So, I mean, it was one of those things where you were getting... I mean, I got last place, okay, in that $2 million Fortnite skirmish,
sure,
and made $2,000 playing it for last place. Do you like? We just talked about this. $2,000 was third place at a major 10 years ago, and then Fortnite's coming in with $2 million. They're paying out everybody playing in these events. Like, it's just crazy to see what that game did for esports in general. And
that's the part that I think is the changeover, because I do think that PUBG and H1 on the stream end, I think those were a huge trend that blew up, because PUBG was crazy for a good moment of time between YouTube and Twitch and stuff like that. But as far as the actual money goes, Fortnite is definitely the dominant there. I mean, Epic is pushing out tons of content constantly, and plus the game is free. Like every other game that came before it, you're paying something for. With the price of entry being free, that makes it a mainstay for a long period of time. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
you can't beat free, man, ever,
dude. You can't. And I think to your point about like them kind of opening up the door for a new generation of gaming, like even like the free to play stuff, like a lot of companies I wouldn't even have dared to dabble with the whole free to play anything. Like seeing what Fortnite did and was like, all right, man, gotta make this game free. Thor and Avengers Endgame plays Fortnite. All right, if Thor is playing Fortnite, that's saying something. All right.
Yeah, that's a wild crossover
happening. I just watched the Miss Marvel, and they mentioned Smash in that one too.
That's true. You might catch me in one of the episodes, Danny and Journey. You never know, man.
Yo, get you in that get in that Captain America sequel.
That's right. No, I have a question. Where is the money in Smash? Like where? I feel like Smash has got one of the greatest communities in video games and esports and fighting games in general. They've got an insane amount of dedication when it comes to viewership. I feel like, why are there not more tournaments, man? This is coming from somebody who's FPS based. So I just think about it. Think about the history of what I've watched forever. I love watching Smash. There's no way I could ever replicate what I'm seeing, but I love watching it. And when I see these majors where they're playing for like 100 Gs, I see it like once a year.
You about to make Rod cry like Will Smith on screen here.
That's right. Man. I'm about to have
you asking him the questions.
Moment. I got the Pursuit of Happiness haircut and everything. In about a week, I'll have the beard too. But no, what's funny? That's actually a good question, and we talk about it from time to time here. I actually wish our boss was here, because he has a very interesting take and breakdown on all of it, and he goes in on Nintendo. So we do have a lot of tournaments. Especially right now, we have the Smash World Tour, which was put together by VG Bootcamp, and then we have something else called the Panda Cup, which is more of a North American Nintendo licensed series of events. And I think it kicks off this weekend with CEO in Florida. But you're absolutely right that there should be more support, and I think we're on the right track there. I just think it's not Nintendo of America. Like, obviously, us in America, we love esports. Like, I mean, the fact that we're even doing this right now, I mean, just goes to show the growth of what esports is and what it is going to be in the next so many years. But it's Nintendo of Japan that will not, you know what I'm saying, green light the esports division. And so we have to kind of take these roundabout ways to putting Smash in that sort of limelight. During the summertime, we have a shit ton of tournaments. Like, there's a tournament every weekend in August, and I'm pretty sure it's September all the way up until October. But in terms of what they could be financially, some of those tournaments, Jordan, we are playing for a ham sandwich. Like, and it's a good ham sandwich. Like, they cut the crust off. Danny can confirm. Okay, he's been to some tournaments where there's been Smash.
It's the real mayo, not
He's got
the
some fresh sourdough. All right,
That's right.
You know?
Some
toasted.
Respect. No, I mean I understand that because a lot of times it's also hard too because you have to dance around game developers in general and the publishers to be able to even host events. So it's like you have to have this unbelievably nuanced relationship with them in general, and then there has to be some sort of like, I mean, half the time it's crowdfunding. It seems like for stuff, but it just, to me, I'm just like, man, like Nintendo, let's throw like $10 million in and let's make it to where you can have instead of. I mean, how many people do you think would you say are comfortably making a living playing Smash right now?
Comfortably, I mean, man, less. I would have to say maybe less than 5% of the community. Like, it's pretty and they have to double as content creators. Like, they can't even just live as a professional player. Like,
Yeah,
they
have to be a mixture.
Yeah, they got to step out of their comfort zone because some Smash just don't have the best personalities. Not everybody can be Jordan, man. Some people in the community are like super like, man, I guess I'll give a cool interview. Yeah, so basically, I just ran up on the guy and I just pressed the button quicker than he pressed it, and that's how I win, right?
Yeah, I hate the frame. One of my favorite interviews of all time. It was a Halo interview from like 2011, and they had this guy on stage and they asked him like, what's it like, beating this team? And he was like, I don't know, I just outplayed them. And it was like the end of the interview. Like he gave nothing else, just went set back down. And listen, Ian Porter Crimsix, I'm talking about you, baby. COD Pro now personality legend must have just been zoned in because he literally was like, I don't know, I'm just better than the other team. And just like sat down. Like it was the funniest thing I've ever seen to this day. Some of the best interviews that I've ever seen are 4 words, and that was one of them. But no, I know what you're saying, and it is true. Like anybody that's trying to get into esports, it's just a note. Like if you're trying to become a pro at anything, you better be doubling up on your content no matter what. Like because your career longevity is not going to be what you think it is. Like unless you are just, I mean, God, I don't even know. Even in like FPS shooters, it's like, dude, you got to think about the COD League, for example. There's 12 teams, so that's 4 players with a substitute. And then coaches. You probably get less than 80 people salaried to play in a league. Mm-hmm. That's like crazy. Like your chances of making it in that are like almost slim to none unless you were just absolutely insane.
That's true.
But there's a lot of people that make it being funny. Yeah, 100%.
That's the big thing. I was just talking to some of the FGC, gods out here. With Rick and Jabali, 2 of the biggest tournament organizers in the world, basically between Evo and CEO and DreamHack, and they were talking about the same thing. There's definitely room for growth as far as being a content creator and having personality. It doesn't split away from what you're doing as a player, where some people will try and tell you that that's hurting the scene somehow or something because more people are developing their own personalities and such. I mean, I think that if you look at sports or any other source of content, those are what makes things entertaining. People want people to root for, to become fans and stuff like that. So if you want to see the scene grow, then bring out more of your personality, more of your character, at these type of events. I feel like that's a good thing.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. It's that's key. And then like you were talking about, like, and just in terms of being able to get people's eyes on the game, it's got to come from external sources. Like, the way streaming works, you're not going to be able to just sit on your Twitch stream unless you're literally the best player in the world and people just show up to it. Like, you've got to have, things on the outside, your TikToks, your YouTube channels, your Facebook, whatever it is, because there's avenues. People are making crazy waves on avenues. People think Facebook's dead. There's a ton of people that are Facebook creators that are making tons of money, and they're able to transition that into their streaming elsewhere or on that platform directly. Mm-hmm. You got to have a way to bring people in and keep it interesting. And you were talking about, you don't have to take away from your grind. If these players are signed to an org, they better have somebody at that org looking out for them content-wise. Like, there are people with no personalities, Rodney, and they're the best gamers in the world sometimes. What you do is you don't worry about them having the personality. You say, hey, content team, let's take the best elements that we have of this dude's or gal's personality, take them and make sure that we're making content based on it so he can focus on the grind or whatever and not have to worry about it. And that's just kind of, that's been my mentality is it's like, you know, you want to join teams, situations, orgs, whatever it is that are going to make sure that they're helping build your brand overall, not just using you to take your tournament money. Because we've seen that in the past.
Oh, haven't
Yeah,
we? Haven't we seen people
that's
take
the scary
money?
thing there.
Yeah, that is very true.
And even if you do go the
guess-
technical route, you can I see in the FUC all the time. You know, there are people that are known as kind of like the technicians, and they get into the guide type of situation where they're putting out guide content, or they're putting together like your different combo potential and stuff like that, and they use their skills in that way. That still helps the community, and also if say a new character comes out, I know where to go to see someone using that character first to make it the most optimal.
Yeah,
And that pays off.
And I've even like told commentators too, like in all commentator roles, like either you're a commentator, a host, MC, analyst, whatever you want to be in whatever game. I always tell people, if you really, really want to shine through, because no matter what you are in esports, sooner or later you're gonna have to create content. If you really want to shine through, and you aren't naturally funny, take an improv class. Some of my commentator, I guess OGs, older brothers, they were like, right, if you just take an improv class, man, like you can sharpen up in some areas and get better at your comedic timing, be more sharp, be more whatever. And I'm like, you know what? We're gonna fucking do that. And I did it, and it actually helped, and I think, for people who don't naturally have it, or people who do have it and they want to sharpen up in some areas, like it only helps you out in the long run. There's nothing wrong with being funny and presentable.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you gotta, the thing is like, there's so many hats that have to be worn in this. Like I've been doing content full time going on 9 years this year in December. It's like I started out as a primarily YouTuber. I've done an immense amount of hosting, casting, commentating,
Yes.
you name it, whatever. I've done live interviews for events, doesn't matter. Like I've just tried to stay alive, stay afloat, all while maintaining like my normal content base. Became literally as full time of a Twitch streamer as you possibly can when COVID hit. Blew up. I was able to buy a home, thank God, just because of how crazy Warzone went. Thank you. And it's just crazy because it's like, and right now is one of those points too where like it's a very dead time in video games. Like we're waiting for Modern Warfare 2 to come out on October 28th. Yes, you've got your updates. You've got Resident Evil 4 remake coming out here soon, which that'll be exciting to scream at and be scared of. But like, there's these dead null periods. So it's like a lot of your creativity has to kind of come from trying to figure out how to keep like momentum going whenever you have these big drought sessions like in your career. And when it comes to content, you've got to be somebody that can be willing to go take an improv class because you can't constantly think that you're the best. You're going to maintain that ability to be that way. It's like I've thought like I do music as a joke, but it's been the most successful stuff I've ever posted on my channel. It's like for me, I'm like, well, I need to go take singing lessons, or I should probably like learn an instrument or whatever, just so I have like an extra element that can add to that success. It's the same thing. Like I like taking interviews and doing stuff to make sure that when in the middle of COVID specifically, I interviewed Gunna, right, the rapper, like for some tournament that was there, and Seth Curry, and I'm like, that's not my comfort zone. Like being interviewed is comfort zone. Giving interviews, not my favorite thing in the world to do. But I do it because you never know what's going to come up, and like what I need to be capable of doing, because you don't know where your career's going to go with this, literally ever.
That's true.
Ever,
true.
no matter how successful you are or not.
Yo,
You just got to keep it rolling.
Being multifaceted, I mean, I feel like it pays off more. It hurts in most cases.
Oh yeah.
So I actually wanted to ask you, so like being from the Midwest, all of us, but I think obviously you and I are more from like the Heartland half. Denny is more from like the cooler half of the Midwest that people talk about.
Oh yeah.
Chicago and Minnesota, Detroit. You from that area, right? Like, nah, I think like Omaha, Nebraska. Okay, so yeah,
we're the real Midwest. That's center.
Yeah,
we're the dead center of the
Wow.
United States.
Y'all can have that, okay?
You guys
Chicago,
are almost Canada up there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't wanna
almost
hear it.
Canada.
If you have a Myers or a Tim Hortons, you are not Midwest. I'm just saying it right now.
that's actually facts. That's facts.
All right, Myers,
Legion and
yes,
I
Tim
are
Hortons,
drawing our
no.
line. We're
No.
drawing our line in the sand, all right? If you got that on the other side, then you know where we stand, okay? Go take your Canada and your health
You
care,
know what?
Denny.
I'm gonna go talk to Jordan. All right, the other Jordan, Michael Jordan. I'm gonna hit him up. Go to the
Michael
steakhouse.
Wow.
Go to the
That's not
steakhouse.
fair. You know what I'm saying? We have like George Brett themed things here. Nobody knows who that is anymore. So
Dude, so I went to Thunder Gaming a couple years ago, and a guy I was going to get my check because they paid the same day. So I was like, okay, I'm just gonna go home and I'm gonna come back later, just come get my check now that I'm done with work. And the guy told me something that kind of stuck with me, and I wanted to know if you guys share a similar sentiment as Midwesterners too. But he asked me where I came from. I said I'm from Omaha, Nebraska. You know, and just like when you tell somebody from a bigger city that you're from somewhere in the heartland, they always tell you that they know somebody. I knew a dude that lived there once, man. 100 years ago, man. I was like, yes, it's Christopher Columbus, bro. It doesn't count, okay? Like, that's not fair.
Mark
But
Twain. You're like, yeah.
Hey, Mizzou had a whole Mark Twain, dining hall or something.
right.
Yeah.
But he said, he talked about like the ability to break through, even being like just regionally and culturally out of the loop because everything that we're into is so big in the coast that like.
Yeah.
He said, yeah, so what brought you here? I said, well, work. He said, did you ever feel like you had to work twice as hard because you just didn't have it in your backyard while some of the other people in bigger regions always had it, like the esports arenas, the opportunities, all this and that? He said, did you ever feel like you had to work twice as hard to keep it as opposed to them where they're just kind of like, well, I'm just out here and if I get it, I get it. And if I don't, I don't. I'm like, yeah, I guess I did have to. But I was like, maybe I'm not the only one that feels like that. Did you ever feel like that too?
I mean, I guess because if you were, like, you and I have been deep into this for a long time. So for me, interconnectedness started as soon as I was like 12 years old, 11 years old on Xbox Live. Like I started to kind of pick up, like I used to play with people from the UK or people from New York City and all over the coast or like, where Halo specifically when I was a kid, like Michigan was a huge hub. You had the Jersey area, you had some SoCal, San Diego, and then Texas were like big pockets. So for Missouri, it was like we had lands with a couple pros that might show up, but it was one of those things where it was like, oh, I don't really have the opportunity for that. But as just social media started to get bigger, I never really felt like I was at a disadvantage because I was already interested in learning about what was going on the coast to begin with, and then just kind of be like, oh, if I want to go, well, back then you could drive or fly for a lot cheaper than you can now, but
very true.
It is harder to make it here because there is far less opportunities. I would argue, but I think if you're somebody that's just willing to just go the extra mile, I don't think it really matters, and you can just do it if you really want it.
Yeah, and I think you're right because like I've come to find out that other people who are from this part of the country, when I hear about like their success and like whatever field that they're in, they're like, yeah, we didn't have it, and so when we got there, we did whatever it was to make sure that we can hold on to it in some facet, whether it's physically or if it's like online, like an online presence, like you're doing your damnedest to like make sure that it is as legit as you want it to feel. And I was like, damn. He's like, yeah, man, all Midwesterners are like that, man. The ones that make it or like that are popping off, like they just come here and they're just like they're hungry, man. Like they'll sleep on the floor to do all types of shit. They don't want it. I'm like, well, I'm not sleeping on no damn floors, mister. However, I said you might be onto something here.
I mean, first off, the coasts are expensive as hell. So I mean, if you out there, you're gonna have to do some things to make it because otherwise, like you're hitting back home. There's not really any other choice there.
Your dollar in terms of living wise goes 3 times as far where we exist. So, I mean, I think that was the other thing too, is like whenever I like first started to take off, it was always like, when are you moving to LA? When are you moving to LA?
Yes.
And I'm like, when they don't like take as much out for taxes as my state does. And also like, I can't afford to live there. Like, I mean, I can, but at what cost? You know what I'm saying? Like to where all of my money is going strictly towards living. Like, it's one of those things where if I was already living in California or New York City or wherever it was, like, yes, I would stay there just because you have that ample opportunity. Everything video games related is always in like Santa Monica, San Francisco, or somewhere in LA. It's like always in that area for me in the games that I play, or Seattle, which is like, a 2-hour flight from LA. So it's like you see these people that do have these opportunities, but there are also a ton of people that just squander away anything they get no matter what anyways. So I feel like if you're just somebody with the right attitude, like you will figure it out. You'll show up, you'll be at the right place, you'll network correctly. But you have to in this industry. Like if you're not networking, you're literally you're 500 years behind,
That's definitely a key there. I mean, I do think that from a historical standpoint, yes, there is a bit of there's just a difference there in different scenes because obviously, California had a thriving arcade scene that wasn't available necessarily for, other scenes. But Chicago's a bit unique in that because we also had Midway. So MK was just out here. So there's elements there that still worked out in our favor. So I mean, there's ups and downs, but you gotta believe in yourself as far as that goes. make sure you're out here.
That's true. Now, on the topic of believing in ourselves, Mr. Jordan, all right, you do music. I do music too. All right. Can we talk about that, please? Like, what has that been like for you? Let me just ask you, did you just wake up one day, you're like, I'm already killing shit. I think after music, I'm going to run for president. So let me drop this mixtape real quick and then see what's up with it.
Man, we started doing country covers. I love country music. I love hip hop music. And I thought, hey, it'd be interesting to see if we took like this 21 Savage song and then just like turned it into like kind of a country track. We just keep the lyrics the same. I sing it with a twang. We just kind of put it together. And I went to sleep and woke up and like every major artist that I can imagine had reposted the content the next day. Like it went super viral. It was insane. Like, I've got Slim Thug like in my DMs. Like it's like just crazy stuff. Like he wouldn't even like Chris Brown's reposting my stuff. Like all this stuff that was going on. I'm like, what is happening? And to me, it was just more so always like just like a passion project because I love music and I have so much respect for artists and musicians. So the whole country Greg thing, which like he's coming back, don't worry. He's been in county jail for stealing from the till at the Golden Corral, but he's on his way back. It's just been something fun to play around with, man. I just really, really love music. So getting to have some fun with country, which is all my family's from northern Arkansas, so I've got a bunch in southern Missouri. It's just been interesting, and it's been really great to just see the response and the feedback. Getting a couple million views on a cover. It's still one of my most viewed videos per month. Is that, and we had a bunch of them do really well. So I don't know, man. Sometimes stuff just hits. Like I've always said I had an okay voice, but apparently people like it. So if it resonates, fine. I'll roll with that.
Dude, if you got the southern twang already, man, and you can sing in key, I mean, what else do you need, Mr. Payton? What else do we need?
I mean, I'm waiting for the collab. I mean, Riley, what's going on, man?
Yeah, what's going on, Rodney? What kind of music do you make?
Shit, I mean, I write all types of stuff, man. I used to play in a rock and roll band, and we played a lot of stuff that felt like Queen or like Led Zeppelin.
Okay. So extremely, extremely much harder than what I was doing, which is just singing over a computer beat.
Well, no, but I mean, I also like country music too, man. I like God, what's his name? It's is it Vince Gill? He sings.
Yeah, Vince Gill. Yeah, he's a big '90s guy.
Yeah, he has a song with Kelly Clarkson that I used to really like back in the day, man. Not back in the day, like 2012, but back in our day, I guess.
I was like back in the day.
Yeah, I know.
Kelly and that old.
Kelly Clarkson's got her own talk show host now. She's a talk show host. You seen that? She's been killing it. Randomly catch it when I'm at hotels or something. It just happens to be on. I'll just put it on.
Yeah, but that's typically because there's only like 5 channels on your hotel TV, so it's just like you either have to watch Kelly Clarkson or like fucking what's the name from Saved by the Bell talk about all the other things.
Oh yeah, Mario Lopez.
Yeah,
guys, we're here with it's on every time, and it's like it loops. It's like the same 3-minute clip for like 48 hours in a row, and you don't know when it's gonna end. Does he age? I feel like he took a serum. You know what I mean?
Dude, I don't think he ages either. Him and Paul Rudd and like Ryan Seacrest and a few other guys, they just like all linked up and was like, "Yo, so we taking another dip in the fountain of youth?" Hell yeah,
they're
brother.
39 forever.
Basically, yeah, just right on the cusp.
I don't know how they're doing it.
Yeah, dude. So obviously, like you create a lot of content and you've been crushing that game for the last so many years, and you have a rich history. And not because sometimes when people pop off in esports or whatever field that they're from, they're like, yeah, he's a content creator, but he's not really nice with it, like in the actual game. But you're obviously very good at what you do. But I have another question. I want to know, and this is like more of like the grown man question, dude. You were out here navigating the gaming space. You and your girlfriend Kylie, you guys have been going crazy, man. The content has been amazing. What has that been like, navigating that with the partner? Because not very many people who come on here like are actually in something serious with another individual.
Yeah, we've been together for 7 years. I think it was probably 4 or 5 years ago. She calls me when she's at work. She's like, "Hey, I don't want to work here anymore." And at that point, I was like, "Hey, I like need a lot of help because this is like a lot of work." And that was before the TikTok and short form media grind was even coming out. So, having somebody to work with that is, that understands everything to the core that I need, like she does, is pivotal. So it's like we work, she shoots, we go to shoots together. She's a part of that. Having her to be able to edit something, like let's say I have a tournament, at 2 p.m. on one day, but I've got sponsored content that's got to go up. It's like she can take care of that, understands how the game works. It's just an unbelievable assist to have an ally that is there just working on everything with you. She's super smart. She's actually been getting her own deals lately, which is crazy. So I'm unbelievably proud of her for that. We did a Google Fiber commercial.
Holy
And
fuck.
we did. She's actually the website now. When you go to sign up for it in the city, her face is on the profile. She did so good as sitting there with me on the couch for like my segment that they ended up giving her own segment and her own videos. And so it was just like that's how I'm telling you guys, like you never know how a reel is going to happen. So it's like she's putting together a reel now with all these different brands, and she's been on all these celebrity activations that we've done, and it's just awesome. I keep telling her, I'm like, I can't wait for you to pop off. So so I can edit all your stuff and then just play whatever games I want at 3:00 in the morning. I was like, you can be my sugar mama. You know what I mean? Like I'm ready. Like let's bring it on. I'm ready to help build up your brand. But that's what she does for me. So I mean, I'm telling you, you never know. It's one of those things too. Where a lot of people, they're like, hey, you can't work with your partner or whatever. That's too hard. And for a lot of people, they can't. Because it's very difficult to not tie in your work plus your personal relationship. Right. Which I mean, at some point, I'm sure she is sick of hearing me talk about this every day, but like who wouldn't be, that's where she goes and hangs out, and then I sit and scream at my console, so but yeah, I mean, it's great, man. I'm telling you, if you can do that with your person, you should 100% do it, no questions asked.
Dude, I'm so glad you said something about that. Yeah, that's facts, bro. Because like, dude, they always say like, man, you can't mix business and relationships and blah blah blah. I'm like, no, the best business is done through great relationships, whether it's friendships, romantic, whatever the case is. Like, if there's a level of communication there and you guys can work with each other, like, you're going to create some dope shit.
Yeah, and I tell you what the most helpful is too is if I'm at like a shoot, my schedule is like COVID threw me in a loop. So my majority of my viewership is from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. when I'm live streaming. Right, so whenever I go on a shoot, you guys know how it is. It's 9:00 in the morning. You're showing up to do some sponsored brand content. I'm taking eye drops so I don't look like I've been like bleeding for 8 hours beforehand because I'm tired. I got to flip my schedule to go do this stuff. It's good when you have somebody there, that's like, hey, wake up, smile, keep your face alive. It's like, because just people keep you in check whenever you're doing stuff. So, you see it all the time. Your talent managers, day to day, a lot of that stuff. Like most of the big, like major players in the game, like they've got a whole team. Kylie, it's just Kylie and I when we do stuff. So everything that comes out on the channels. Her and I have got a thumbnail guy that does stuff and an editor for YouTube videos, but everything else is us working at it. So if people say you can't do it, you can. It is hard, but why not try if you're interested in it?
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, you could always, if it doesn't work out, it's not like it's the end of the world. You can still make some other things work. But I think communication style is also a big thing too. Having that kind of communication styles that might mesh. I know a few people that work together pretty regularly in the same way, but they also knew how they communicate would work well for a work environment. So
that's true.
That's good stuff.
That's true. Especially when like both parties just kind of get it, like, hey, this is like our thing now. Like we're both not working regular jobs, though. Like you could argue that creating content and doing what we do obviously are jobs, with the way we have to treat them. And honestly, they're like more of a job because even when I'm not online or I'm not streaming or I'm not creating content, I'm still thinking of the next thing all night. Like it's in my brain all the time. And to have somebody to bounce off ideas back and forth comfortably with each other, like you don't have to worry about her stealing your ideas and she doesn't have to worry about that with you. Dude, you guys are going to be like the next Beyonce and Jay-Z. I'm going to be in Times Square and I'm going to see like the fiber shit and I'm going to be like, I know these people. I fucking know them. They're gonna be like, whatever, crazy man. You don't know what you're talking about. No.
You just send me a DM and I'll be like, it's real, and vice versa. Whenever you guys are, whichever one of us becomes a billionaire first, let's just donate about 20 million subs in each other's channels.
You're saying that, but Rod's gonna be, sharing that star, hit single with you, in the commercial. You're gonna have that playing in the background.
We're gonna duo become billionaires with our music entity that we're about ready to create, and we're gonna go crazy with it.
Dude, hold on, man. We might be onto something here. Hold on.
That's what I'm saying.
Wait a damn minute, guys. Wait a minute. We might be onto something here, dude. So I know we only got so much more time with you. Really quick, what are some of your end goals in the industry right now? And I say industry because I think you have done things that have even exceeded the gaming hemisphere. So, what are some of your end goals, or if you've already hit them yet, if you would mind sharing them with us?
Yeah, I mean, I think the goal is to just stay afloat somehow, right? I think just being able to stay relevant is just one of those things where once you've had a taste, of being able to make content for a living, you should probably try to do everything you can within your power to not lose it. And what I mean by that is, I see creators complain. I see people constantly complain about the game they play. Cool, but also your entire living is based around kind of like how you are and how your persona is, and for me, all that is positivity. I enjoy you being really positive and being uplifting and making sure people are having a really good time and just bringing people together to have that. So when I see that kind of stuff, I'm like, it's really interesting to see you complaining about your job being content creation, because I could be doing something else. I could be out in 100-degree weather with 100% humidity breaking concrete. You know what I mean? And that's not that content creation isn't hard, but it is probably a much harder to be doing construction work than it is doing what I'm doing, because I want to 100% be doing this job.
Yes.
So my goal is just keep it alive, try to stay relevant, have fun with it, and then just keep making sure that I'm playing off my creative ventures. Like, I'm beyond ready to bring the music back. That's something that I want to definitely explore. I think it would be hilarious to do a live performance for something that matters. Do something at a music festival, just something crazy like that nobody's done. That's what I'm saying, Rodney. Like, here we go. Or a video game event. I don't know if you guys remember, like Lights did a performance like a decade ago, like at some MLG event, I think, way back.
I think there should be more of that crossover happening. I feel like there's a ton of people that enjoy gaming and enjoy live music, like putting those two things together, and then not having to be like, Swedish House Mafia or something for it to be enjoyable. Like, just make some of that happen.
But yeah, man, I think just making sure that you're always trying to move with your gut and have fun with it, and obviously it's the same thing as everybody else. It's like, well, yeah, I want to get my concurrent viewership up, whatever. That comes and goes like in mass, so it doesn't really. It's like if you can maintain a living, you know what I'm saying, like somehow by just playing your cards right, then that's enough. That's enough for me. And then, yeah, man, I don't know. It's great. I mean, you guys see it all the time. People just like complain about this job, and I'm like, I don't understand. Like, yes, it's stressful. Yes, I'm constantly thinking about this. I put my whole heart into this every single day. So does Kylie. But at the same time, like, dude, I don't know what the hell I would be doing if it wasn't this job at this point in my life. I got to go back to college. I got to finish this semester and a half I quit to become a full-time content creator and move forward doing that and find another outlet. But, right now is where God's put me. So I'm going to keep riding it out until I can.
Plus, you got the community aspect, too. It's like you build an entire community around what you do and stuff like that. And I think people kind of forget about that element. It's not necessarily always just the content creator side. There's a lot of people that may have been following you for your 9-year career, on camera and stuff like that.
Which is crazy. The craziest thing is like, so one of my friends, so he's a tight end for the Cowboys. So it's Dalton Schultz. I have a photo with him from when he was like 15 or 16 at like an E3 event where he just like wanted a photo with me. And that's a grown ass huge man now. So it's like, it's funny to be like, oh yeah, you were a fan of me when you were like a child, but like you're like a high paid NFL tight end. Like, it's insane to just see like kids that were kids are now adults that have been watching my content for like that duration, or like yeah, it's just nuts. So like when you've been in this game long enough, you're just like, somebody's like, oh man, yeah, you remember that like stream you did where you like waxed your chest hair? And I'm like, it's like 19 when we did that. Like that's 10 years ago. Like crazy stuff people will bring up. It's nuts.
Generation, man. We're in the generation where people have grown up watching streamers or watching content creators, do things, and now they're like at that level where they're out here in these streets like, oh yeah, I remember you playing Halo, 10 years ago. It's wild.
It's a grind, man, and it's ever evolving. And I feel like even now there's so many people that are trying to get into this space and they feel like that they've already missed the window. And I'm like, you're coming in at the right time now. It's like people want to get into esports. You know what you need to do? If you're not going to be the person that's able to be good enough, which you should take a strong, hard look at how you actually play. If you think you can pass your window, your ceiling, and beat that, fine. If you're somebody that's passionate, you should be figuring out if you want to become a videographer, you want to become people, working the prompters, working the production crew, you want to be the host, the commentator, the player, whatever it is. There's a million different jobs that are in this game now. Are they all going to treat you well and pay you high? Absolutely not. We've all learned that lesson doing marathon runs for different companies over 9 years, but it does prepare you. It actually doesn't. Because Rodney, we were talking about this in DMs. Like when you make it to an upper echelon within like this space, for example, it is so much easier than it was coming into it at the bottom. Like you're doing 40 hours worth of work versus you just show up for your time slots now. It's crazy, but you know
Time is
that's how
money.
everything is.
You know, time is money. When they feel like, okay, we got this man for 2 hours, and we're paying for those 2 hours. You could have shown up for those 2 hours. And compared to like, you know, the grub on the bottom level who's like, I can get my foot in the door. I'll do this, you know, pro bono for 2 weeks.
Dude.
It's a whole different
And
element.
people don't show up, even if they're getting paid high amounts of money. Like I've seen so much diva shit, like at the top, where I'm like, you know, if somebody's paying you a bunch of money to show up for like a 2 hour time slot, like just show up for it, do your job, go home. Like it's crazy to me, you know, because then you sit and you think back, like, man, when I was really doing grassroots stuff, like I was doing this for $500 for a whole weekend. I had to pay to get there. I've got 10 dudes in this hotel room. We're all sharing. You know what I'm talking about? We're at a Motel 6. You know, most of the time those are not very nice.
I know it smells crazy in there, bro.
You know, and it's like you're just trying to figure it out. You're trying to get into it, and I think there's just a misconception now where people think like you're just going to be guaranteed this glory walk as soon as you try to step into it. Because now they've kind of started to put like you can. Have you seen some of the stuff coming out where people think you can get like educated on how to like be in esports? It's like, I mean, if you have traditional media training, sure, but I see people with like resumes with like, yeah, I've been doing this for 20 years. I'm like, and what? You're 21 years old.
Yeah, like how?
What?
Like, huh? Like what?
Like, what is happening?
Dude, I'm so glad you brought that up because I talk about this all the time. Like new commentators ask me like, yo, how do you get to the whatever? And you know, there are some divas in, you know, the word of especially broadcast talent. Oh, I only want green M&Ms type shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, I eat all the M&Ms.
Absolutely.
Like, yeah, like literally. And so they'll ask me like, yo, how do you get to X, Y, and Z? And I always tell people like, well, first of all, I'll tell you this because some of these other guys and gals won't, but it sucks. And it's going to suck for a long fucking time. And if you're not willing to get through the suck years, not saying that you should have to, you know, just because we got it out the mud doesn't mean you have to, but there's going to be a large part of that's going to be character defining for you. The journey is going to be much different than the destination, dude. I took so many mega buses from Nebraska, 10 hours to Chicago, 10 hours to Denver, to LA, all types of crazy shit just to be in the room when things were happening, just to work for nothing. I said, if you aren't willing to do that in the beginning, I'm not saying that you have to do it forever, but if you're not willing to make those type of sacrifices, esports, even at a low level, is probably not going to be for you.
Yeah. I mean, I just was thinking about like how like especially early on, like with YouTube, it's like even so back then having a following didn't really guarantee you're making even money really. Like I mean you're making enough to like, you know, do whatever, but early on, like you weren't making a ton because there weren't all these brand activations that started to really kind of pop up like late 2013, 2014 is when those started like kind of come in really heavy for influencers. But I would show up to E3s. I was showing up at PAXs. I was showing up at every local. I was showing up to the Microsoft Store Halo tournaments. Like stuff that like you wouldn't even think that like, you know, it's like, well, why are you there if you have like a following? Well, first of all, I love video games. So I show up to things that I care about, not because I'm getting paid to be there or because, you know, for whatever. It's like if there's a local Call of Duty or a Halo LAN, I'm still showing up because I like to meet the community and support. And you also never know who you're going to find next is going to be the next talent. And that's one of those things where they have a good memory of you and those people end up blowing up. That's something that can be helpful to you down the line. But
yes.
I mean, literally, like you go to E3, right? You get in, you're there, you're with your org, whatever. And, you know, next thing you know, you're talking to somebody, you have no idea who you are, you hit it off. And then they're like some dev working for a company that then gets you into pre-roll their game at some future event. It's crazy to me.
It is.
Just to see being somewhere is so important versus just, you know.
Human interaction is still a important thing. I know people like to try and skip that process, but it's still a big deal. I mean, I feel like usually in a lot of situations, folks will go, you know, I can just send an email or like you're just another face in the void at that point. You know, people remember the things that they can actually, you know, see through, chat with, get with people together. You know, that part I feel like of networking in general isn't going to go away, regardless of, you know, obviously coming out of the pandemic and stuff like that. But actually talking to people is still valuable, and there's no way around that.
Oh yeah, like, you know, if you really want to make it in anything, like showing up is literally more than half the battle. Like I think sometimes people associate with, well, if I show up, where's the immediate compensation? I said sometimes the immediate compensation is not even money. Sometimes it's just this person that you worked with for free. You know, when they didn't have anything for you, might remember you for when they step into a better opportunity. They might be inclined to reach out to you. Human beings are just naturally like that. But there's so many people who just step in, they give it a good old college run, and they're like, all right, I was here for 2-3 years. I only want to work things that are beneficial to me, whether it's like time wise or monetarily. And if it's not, then I'm not here. I'm like, dude, I got some bad news for you. This shit ain't gonna work, man. Like, it just ain't gonna work.
Yeah, I mean, I can't tell the amount of connections that have set me up later that you wouldn't even believe. I mean, like there's been stuff where I've done with one company where, it hasn't worked out in either of our favors, or, at some point it seems like, I got shorted or something like that. And I'm like, you know what? Hey, that's fine. I'll just move on to the next one, whatever. Don't burn a bridge. That person moves companies, comes back, and I get a deal of some sort that is 15 times what it would have mattered to me the first time it comes around. And it's like, I feel like a lot of the issues with some people is that they're just not used to like any sort of like loss, I feel like. It's like in content creation, it's like you just have to be able to just take the L, move on, and then figure. Like, do you have any idea how crazy some of these companies were that were coming into the gaming space early on, like reaching out for sponsorships? You have orgs, companies, whatever, not paying people when they're supposed to get paid out for whatever it was, for any reason. And it's like, you're like, oh yeah. So you get kind of used, 9 years ago, I'm like, oh, well, hopefully I get a check for the work I did, because I don't know. If not, I'll just make sure like everybody knows to not go work with so-and-so. But, nowadays it's starting to get a little bit more cleared up because there is more professionalism in it. But I mean, you even see it now still where people signing contracts that are just horrible for themselves because they've never done it before.
No representation.
Go see an attorney and have them read your contract.
That's right.
Spend the $1,000 and have somebody read that, and then you're going to say, "Oh, I don't have that money." Figure it out. Because if you're signing yourself for a deal that you consider lucrative, you need somebody looking over your stuff for you, so you're not getting screwed in the long run. But it's crazy, man. But it's been so fun. Like Rodney, I'm sure you've got so many good memories too from being 10 deep in a Motel 6. Like that's what builds you. Denny, same thing. Where you're like when you're in the old hotel and the floor and like the walls are like velour and it still smells like cigarettes, but it's been non-smoking for 22 years, and you're like, what's happening? You know what I mean? Like that stuff, I feel like built me, and it just becomes content later when you get to look back and talk about it whenever you're backstage and you've got a green room with celebrities. Like it's crazy just to see the evolution of how stuff has went, and so quickly at that. But it's nuts, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Is. It really is. So really quick, on the topic of connections, where can people connect with you really quick? Because we're coming up on our hour mark, and I want to make sure that people who go back and watch this, they figure out how to follow you, man. Follow the greatness that is Jordan Legion Payton, man.
Man, listen, I'm a nighttime streamer, so twitch.tv/LEGIQN. I'm on Twitch. You can find me on TikTok. Just search that name. Probably pop up with a fake one, but you'll find the real one. It's got a check mark. Same thing on Twitter, everywhere else. You can come check out all the content. We post pretty much every day, stream every night. So great way to find me, hang out. We've got an amazing community, honestly. Probably the best group of people I could have asked for to be a part of what I do. So a lot of great people if you're looking for some place to be comfortable and have fun.
Hey, that's amazing, man. Friends, y'all heard it first. You know what to do, okay? You need to go over there and give this man a follow, okay? He's doing great shit for the gaming hemisphere. And he's an all-around role model, all right? He has the house, okay? He's paying them bills. He's creating content, okay? You know what I'm saying? He got the wonderful partner. They're creating cool content together. Like, I mean, what else could you ask for from somebody in the gaming space?
I tell you, Rodney, this is crazy. Denny, we need to get this man at my house commentating me sleeping.
I need him with the mic, just
And now
they're mowing the grass, and he's just like, yeah, look at those corners, those edges.
Unbelievable weed eating job. We haven't seen something like this in a decade since the Asics wearing neighbor in his late 60s tore it up.
The whole neighborhood's upset. He's doing this at 6 a.m. for reasons unexplained. We'll be right back right after this.
I got one last question because I have to ask before we leave. You mentioned Vanguard and Call of Duty. I know that they've got plans, with everything else coming out soon. What do you want to see when they reload things with the new map and such? If you could talk to the developers directly and say, "Hey, we need things to happen." What are some of the things that you would like to see go down in whatever this new version of the map is going to be moving forward?
I mean, so the new map comes out technically tomorrow. So the update for the new Rebirth Resurgence map comes out tomorrow. I think they're going to have done a good job with it. I've already got to see some stuff regarding it. It seems like it's going to be something like everybody kind of asked for. Caldera wasn't a fan favorite when it dropped, which was a larger Warzone map. People preferred Verdansk over Caldera, but Rebirth Island is like popped off. Like TikTok, everything else is just absolutely eating that portion of it up. So for them to come out with Fortune's Keep tomorrow, I feel like is going to explode. But you want to talk about the future? We're going to talk about Modern Warfare 2 coming out October 28th, and Warzone 2 that's supposed to drop at some point as well after that. We need some good old-fashioned nukes, G18 Akimbos, Model 1883 Akimbos. We need the ACR back. We need freaking all of the high-rise, Favela, all those classic maps from Modern Warfare 2. I want to see in the game. And for Warzone 2, I want to see all of the ranks reset, only guns that pertain to that. And we got a 2-year cycle for Call of Duty coming this year, so it's going to be massive. And probably pop off way more than Vanguard. And I'm excited to get away from the World War II dull color schemes to get back to some modern shooters. Modern Warfare 2019 like literally revived the franchise in my opinion, and Warzone just like was the perfect storm of it exploding. So I think it's gonna be good for the game. I'm excited.
Oh, for sure.
Hell yeah. Hey, I'm excited that you're excited. That just means that we're going to get some cool ass content here coming soon from the man, the myth, the legend himself. Jordan Legion Payton, friends, big round of applause to you for showing up and hanging out with us today. Be sure to follow him everywhere that he is available. That includes MySpace and MSN as well. And the could you imagine?
Yeah, dude, I've known you top 8.
That's
Check
right,
out my top 8.
No, all jokes aside, man. Big thank you for showing up today, man, and hanging out with us. It's been an absolute pleasure. We will see you sometime in the near future. I'd like to have you back for some more stuff.
You got it. Thanks for having me, guys. You guys are awesome. I like Shacknews, and they need to host another tournament with Tony Hawk Pro Skater 4 so I can play in it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Big moves. I love it.
No doubt about it. Alrighty, Mr. Jordan. Yeah, if you just hit disconnect down there, we got another half of the show we got to still do too.
All right. See you guys later. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Let's give a man a round of applause for that one, man. Good stuff. Big news. Yes.
Clap it up for the man himself. That's right, man. And big shout out to everybody who tuned in, of course, for that wonderful interview. If you did that, then you already knew how to find us. But if you don't know how to find us, and this is your first time tuning in, this is what you need to do, okay? You need to go ahead and hit that subscribe button here at Shacknews on Twitch, all right? You get the subscribe button. I'll meet you in the middle on the follow button, okay? But if you're really liking what you're seeing, of course, a lot of the cool stuff that happens on social media was done by this wonderful man to, I think, the left of me on the layout here, Denny Von Doom. Big shout out to Denny Von Doom for making our social media look as beautiful as ever, because we are on all forms of social media, friends. We are on Twitter.com. We are verified, which means we are real people, okay? We exist. We're speaking right in front of you.
We are indeed real.
We are real, man. It doesn't get more real than that verification check mark. And we're also on Instagram as well. No check mark there yet, but it's coming soon, okay? For all my Instagrammers, I like to scroll and click and swipe and all that other cool shit that you do on there. Shacknews Media is the name of the handle. Go find out everything that we do. We just had a lot of cool content happen last week. E6 was the name of the game, okay? And with all of that happened here on Shacknews, we had reviews and previews, guest performances, panels about gaming, food, technology, you name it. We had everything and then some under the gaming sun there on Shacknews. Of course, head on over to YouTube as well, because what good is having a Twitch channel without YouTube and having a YouTube channel without Twitch, okay? Gamer Hub videos, and of course, Shacknews. We are both on there under 2 different channels for everything content related, okay? We got cool stuff like this segment here where we had Jordan Legion Payton kick it with us. That's going to be on YouTube as well, but we also have other cool segments as well from our other shows like Retail Therapy, which happens every 3rd Wednesday of the month. That's our Pokemon card show between myself and it's not just Pokemon cards, but that's what it ends up turning into after a while. Myself,
I heard you were balling out this past weekend, you know.
I bought some, listen, man. So I bought a little something. Let me show you real quick. So I bought an Elite Trainer box. Let me see if I can grip this with one hand. Okay. Bought the Elite Trainer box, opened it up on the channel. Okay, I didn't get shit. All right, that's usually how it works on the Elite Trainer boxes. But I tell you who did get some really cool stuff, and that is our boss, co-editor-in-chief, Blake Morris, aka Prof Robot, pulled a shadowless base set Charizard. All right, and then he pulled a base set 2 Charizard as well. So he's the fucking man. All right, we're gonna talk about who won Shacknews for the week and for the day. All right, but no matter how well 8 Mikey in the game did, okay, Blake Morris really won Shacknews forever. Cause what the entire fuck. Speaking of winning Shacknews, you guys can do that too if you download Shack Pets. Okay, if you like animals and you just want to get through the craziness on social media that is doom scrolling, a lot of crazy stuff in the world, Ukraine, gas prices, There's going to be a shortage on food pretty soon. Joe Biden's talking about another economic recession in 2023. A lot of cool shit to look forward to. Am I right? Then you already know what you need to do to escape all that. You need to download Shack Pets. It is your free escape from social media. Okay, cool animals. It is the ultimate battle of cuteness. Okay, so you can take one cute, wonderful animal versus another cute, wonderful animal and just sit there and vote all day. You can even, if you're feeling froggy, put your cute animal on that app too and battle for cuteness. Or if you don't want to battle and you just want to share wonderful pictures of your wonderful pets, we have a section for that as well too. And you can contribute to the wonderfulness that is the Shacknews cinematic universe. You can have your place here. All right, if you just play Shack Pets, all right, you'll show up at the end of the show where Danny and I will do our best to shout you out and get your gamer tag correct, because there are some interesting ones on there. But yes,
yeah,
you already know. Tell them, Danny.
I mean, that is a good point. But Shack Pets also had a recent update too that has some pretty cool features, and there might be some other things coming up pretty soon. All right, I'll keep it pretty hush hush for now. But there's more things coming out. You know, you look forward to with the Shack Pets coming in the summer. You know, you can really get hype about. I personally have, you know, a 6-month-old puppy now who I like to put up some new photos of. And we passed the 300 pets mark recently as well, so people are getting the pets popping off on Shack Pets. Is, you know, get back on it, hop back on there, try it out, get those battles in, vote for your pets. That's a very important part of the features. But you know, who knows? You might end up being Pet of the Week, or on our latest pet feed, which you can actually show off your pets in the pets feed, pop up first up in line. And I like to put those up on the Twitters and such. So
we want to see them fur babies, okay? Show us your babies, friends. We would like to see them as respectfully as possible, but also a little, I'm being a little aggressive here. Post pictures of your pets, all right? It doesn't hurt anybody, and it just makes the world a happier place. You tell me you've had a wonderful day at the job. Boss yelled at you, a bunch of shit happened, okay? Girlfriend's leaving, okay? Somebody ate your lunch, all types of shit. You tell me you still feel upset when you look at a picture of a kitten or a puppy, okay? You tell me that, I'm gonna call you a liar, because it's not true. It's not true.
It's just funny you bring that up, because I just saw on Twitter earlier how somebody brought up that old T-Pain and Chris Brown song, and how the man, how they called in to the radio DJ, and it was T-Pain.
Kiss. Yes.
Yes, kiss. And they were like, yo, my wife is leaving me. What should I do, T-Pain? And he was like, you go to this new single of me and Chris Brown. And then hits the button.
That's right. They got that lovey, that kiss.
You can make your kiss Shack Pets, all right? Get some of that time in, you know? One day, I'm making a goal to have T-Pain on the show one day, you know? All right? Gonna bring T-Pain in here.
It's definitely coming soon. It's definitely coming soon.
He plays all of the shooters and such as well. You can make it happen.
It's true.
All right, it looks like Briggsy's having some technical difficulties, so we have to give it a little bit of time. I think we might have to roll into a different story first to hit up the top of the hour.
Okay, well that's okay. You know what? We'll save the shooter talk for later. Okay, let's jump into some fighting game talk, Denny. That's more in our wheelhouse as it is anyway. I mean, we love all games here, but Denny and I come from a very specific area of the gaming community called the FGC. Okay, where friendships are made or sometimes broken. Well, this last weekend, we just had this really awesome tournament that we had to cover a couple times on the show called the Gimvitational. And what the Gimvitational was VG Bootcamp's very own head honcho, the man, the myth, the legend himself, the bald-headed wonder, Calvin Lofton, a.k.a. VG Bootcamp Gimmer. Okay, Gimmer stands for God is my rock, for those that are wondering. Okay, and he said, we are going to do an invitational. And this invitational is going to feature some of the most prolific players in the business, and we're going to bring them to Xanadu, which is in Laurel Park, Maryland. One of the more quiet parts of Maryland. Everybody gets so hype about Baltimore, but Laurel Park has the gaming arcade that is Xanadu Games, and they did an invitational. And boy, was there a lot of shit to talk about, Denny. First and foremost, and I think the biggest elephant in the room is Minecraft Steve. Okay, this character is goddamn ridiculous. We had a gentleman, from Japan, Akola, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, beat the Momocon champion, Light, best Fox in the world and best North American player. Best American player, or maybe North American player. I don't know. Him and Riddles, America, Canada. I think they're back and forth right now. But anyway, one of the best players from North America, and he beat him. Denny, You've seen Minecraft Steve in action. What are your thoughts on this character, man?
I mean, seems pretty scary to me. I mean, considering that, I mean, this was pretty impressive. I did watch a little bit, not live, but I did watch some of the highlights, and it seems like, this is something I like to see on the FGC end a lot too. Is when someone becomes kind of like a specialist,
Sure.
and people don't have necessarily the answer for it in a way that's going to be consistent. I mean, Minecraft Steve, while not necessarily the most stylish character as far as overall looks, he definitely has all the technique, and
Yes.
it was pretty impressive to see in action for sure.
No doubt about it, man. I think after this tournament, we have come to believe that this character may be one of the best characters in the game, if not top 3, or arguably the best character. When you play a game like Smash, I know you've dabbled, with it in your time, and I play it from time to time as well. The idea of innovation goes a very long way with character styles. Just because a character is told to be played a type way doesn't necessarily mean you have to play them that way. And I think a character like Steve really reinforces that idea and then runs with it. And our wonderful friends from across the pond over in Japan, they have a very different take when it comes to fighting games. Different mentality, different approach to the meta, different approach to the match. And to see those beautiful faces over there pick up a character like Steve and do what they're doing, I'm very afraid, Denny. I'm gonna be honest. Well, like in about a year or two, every top 8, every grand finals is going to be a fucking Minecraft character on one side and Kazuya Mishima on the other side.
I mean, look, all right. This has happened before in other places, okay? Like in the Street Fighter crowd. For me, being a Marvel player, back in the heydays of Marvel 3, the amount of times there's been situations where characters haven't been patched and they will never be patched, and then people find things that make them absolutely ridiculous. Eventually the game evolves. You reach a point where there's either portions of a matchup that people are going to start to exploit, and then eventually it balances it out because people reach a new skill level to deal with that character. But there's always been some elements, especially when it comes to the skill level of Japan, coming in with obscure elements of a certain character or whatever, taking over. I mean, we saw that with some of the early times with people were making characters like Iron Fist and
No.
there was one player who was using Phoenix Wright at one point for Marvel 3, which is destroying. He ran through an entire tournament with Phoenix Wright on point, and people had no answer for that first tourney. And then you had entire teams just labbing against that one character to get things back to neutral again. So I feel like that same element it helps with reaching a new competitive level for the game, but there's also elements where maybe someone like that would start doing that with other characters. You're like, are you stopping the Steve now? Okay, well, I'm going to put some time in with an unorthodox, Falco or something now.
That's true. Very true. And I'm glad you brought that up too, because I think people sometimes in the Smash community see this and they think, well, this is so upsetting and so abrupt. Nobody else ever deals with shit like this. I'm like, dude, Injustice 2 in the beginning, I was at Combo Breaker. A lot of Starfire dittos. A lot of fucking Deadshot, okay? This type of stuff happens.
Deadshot was ridiculous.
CEO 2018. Top 32 had how many camis? Like, there was a shit ton of camis for a little bit. Okay, like these things happen. Same with Tekken. Geese was very good for a while. Akuma's still good. He just needs a redesign. You can't not make him good. He's good. Noctis was good for a while. Okay, these things happen, Smash community. But I think Smash has been long overdue for a shakeup anyway in the meta. I think we have kind of become a little comfortable with ourselves. Like, no more patches. It's time for us to figure out what the meta really looks like and what it's going to feel like. And I think because there are no more patches, this gives us the opportunity to really put it in our hands and, kind of write the narrative we want to see. And as it stands right now, you better fucking mind some craft, friends, or you're going to be in some trouble for the next so many patches. Though I do wish one thing, though, Denny. I wish Smash had seasons like other fighting games did. Like, this character's really good this season, and then this next season, figure it out, buddy. But no. Sometimes we're just stuck with the shit we got.
I mean, Smash. Sure, I love you guys, but to be honest, there's a level of privilege here that, again, me as a Marvel player, Street Fighter, sure, Capcom seasons, I understand, but Marvel 3 was abandoned to the point in which they dropped Ultimate Marvel 3, and that was it. They dropped a new version of the game with all of these supposed updates and new characters, and then nothing came after that. They just dropped the game. A couple patches, in the first 2 weeks, and then there was never an update to that game again. And it was running tournament season for like a solid 3 years. So with the amount of brokenness that was in that game, where it was one-touch infinites, there were game glitches where you could hit someone on one side of the screen and then they'd be stuck on that side of the screen until the match is over. Like those kind of things were just part of the game at that point. You had to balance out those exploits and make it work for you. Where I feel like when it comes to Smash into things, yeah, there's going to be some elements that are going to be probably exploited or used in ways that they shouldn't be. And there's going to be characters that, become part of the meta that you maybe didn't see in a certain way. But I think that kind of growth and development for a game, since we don't know when Nintendo might decide to bring Smash back in some way. And even if that new version of Smash isn't going to be just a repackage without any kind of updates,
Sure.
There's got to be some level of just putting it together as a competitive player. I feel like that's kind of where we are until we're on a level where these companies are treating things more like a Fortnite and they're pushing out updates frequently and new content. But we have to see more of a more supported scene for that to kind of happen.
Well, and I think you hit the nail right on the head with it. We definitely have to see a more supported scene. And I will say Smash has definitely been babied as somebody, because I came from Tekken first. So like when I seen like all the hoopla about Brawl Meta Knight or Bayonetta, I'm like, y'all don't even know what pain is. You don't even know. Like, you don't even know what pain really is. These characters are silly, but they're not as bad as some of the other games that we have to deal with. But
yeah,
to your point though, what's going on right now is that people are asking for a ban of Steve. They're just saying we should ban this character. He's kind of goddamn ridiculous. I'm like, now friends, wait a minute. Now before we start tossing the B word around, they don't know, bro. They don't know what really something to be bannable like really looks like and feels like and sounds like. I don't think they really know. What was the character in Killer Instinct? The fire guy is in Inferno. Remember he
Cinder?
had Cinder rather.
Yeah.
He had the corner glitch for a long time in the arcades, and they had to actually send developers to each and every arcade to fix that. Of course, like you said, Marvel vs. Capcom, even like Android 16 in the beginning of Dragon Ball. Are you fucking kidding me?
Even Lab Coat recently in Dragon Ball, when Lab Coat was running just a clinic for a while. That was a very scary time.
They don't even know what banning anything is. Now, on the topic of things being banned, Spargo has kind of banned himself a little bit. He wants to take a break, Denny. He says, I got to keep it a stack with y'all. He said, can we talk for a second just between you and me? He said, I have not been in it mentally the way I should be. And with it being Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, I mean, at Shacknews, every month is Mental Health Awareness Month. But to the rest of the world right now, it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. And for somebody his age to be so young and so mindful of where he is right now, mentally and emotionally, when it comes to what he's doing, not even at a profession. He's only 16. Okay, this is just something that he's just really good at. He's good at kicking older people's asses professionally, but it's not, I mean, it pays his bills, but he's still a kid. The fact that he's that in tune with himself, I think really says a lot. So he just was recently sponsored by FaZe Clan, which was very, very big for Smash. I think making another tier 1 team involved, Cloud9, TSM, T1, oh God, and of course FaZe Clan. He said, I'm sponsored. Cool. I'm doing my thing. And he's been doing really well since being sponsored. Shortly after Genesis, he won Low Tide City. And he won it pretty convincingly, too. I mean, of course, there were people who put up a challenge like Cola and the Buzz and things and such. But Spargo, of course, is cooking with some different grease.
Yeah.
But he says that, and Denny, it's the summer of Smash. He says, and not twit longer, he's going to take off a lot of events. No Double Down. That's second weekend of July. No Gommel. That's the first weekend of July. No Smash Con and no Rise and Grind. And he's still planning on attending Smash Factor, which I think is good for him. That's in Mexico, and it is probably going to be the biggest Mexican Smash tournament ever. Big shout out to the gang. But he's taking off pretty much all of July and August, which is prime time points for the Panda Cup and Smash World Tour Cup. Denny, what do you think, man?
I'm always going to support people taking time that they need when it comes to, anything competitive. Obviously, that may have an effect on his qualifying for different events later on in the season. But again, like you said, he's very young. And there's a lot more to life than just Smash or any video game.
Right.
Also, there's we don't know necessarily what else might be going on in his personal life.
Sure.
As
Very
a
true.
teenager or family, those kind of things. For him to bring up mental health here specifically, I mean, I think that's obviously something that must be a heavy enough toll. He's had some kind of talks either with with sponsors or team, and I'm sure those kind of communications were happening before he made his decision. But for him to roll out that list and everything else there too, I think that he's probably thought pretty hard about when he wants to kind of make a comeback or return, and also what's important to him. I mean, I think even though you're a sponsored player and stuff like that, that shouldn't come before elements of your own personal well-being. Because at the end of the day, if you're having mental health issues, there's no guarantee you're even going to be able to play at your current level that people are used to at these events. In that case, anyway, in which case that might just lead to more issues down the line and more disappointment if you try and force yourself through it. So the same way that we had, conversations with Jordan earlier, about balancing things out and having the right people around you and stuff like that. The same goes for being willing to know yourself and be honest with yourself with what you can actually handle and knowing your own limits. Which I think is pretty mature for someone that young.
That's very true, and I'm glad you brought that up because sometimes people forget that he is a very young man. I mean, he's a teenager right now. Not legally able to do a lot of other things that his competitors can do. And I think, sure, you could travel really at any age, but to be this young, you're spending your summer doing this. You just got out of school. Like, I mean, this is a lot. I think this. Again, I don't want to make any assumptions, but I'm sure he's either applied for a job before or whatever, but this is like probably the closest thing to like an actual real job, what I'm saying, that he's probably ever done, which is very good for him, and I'm proud of him. But I think in this current day and age that we live in, no matter what type of job you're working, you need to make sure, like you said, your mental health is intact. I mean, especially for a team like FaZe Clan, who is expecting greatness from somebody like Spargo, who has always showed up, by the way. Like, I don't want anybody to get it twisted that's watching this. He's always performed and done a phenomenal job in any bracket he's been in, online and offline. I think the online stuff is what really put him on the map, and then he took it offline and started kicking ass. But the fact of the matter remains the same. You have to make sure your head is on straight before you can do anything physically in any sort of game, in any sort of really setting. I am a little worried, obviously, with him being sponsored. Like, can you really afford to miss this many events? And on the topic of how the community looks at you, of course, we're always going to, want the best for our young players, especially. I mean, they are the future. But I don't know how many environments he's been in since sponsored where, the narrative attached to you kind of switches. Before it's like, I'm the young guy, I'm unsponsored, what I'm saying? I'm right there. Like, I'm on that cusp of being like, potentially number one in the world one day. I can be. And, we talked about Dragon Ball earlier. I think there are points of times where Spargo is the best player in the room, and Leo and Light and everybody can be there, but he just has that Gohan factor where he just powers up and he just becomes the most badass kid ever. But, there hasn't really been a lot of environments where, like, now that he's been sponsored, people are now starting to cheer against him. And I'm really curious to see how he's going to handle that. It's much easier to cheer for the guy who's unsponsored, the young kid, the whatever. But once that jersey gets put on you and people just subconsciously are like, oh, there's money attached to this guy now. He's nice. Now we got to move on to the next underdog. I don't know if he's experienced much of that yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's always the baby face heel factor where people have situations where you quote unquote make it and then people move on. You see it in content creation, Twitch, everything else. You get the check mark or whatever, and then people are okay, it's time to move on to the next person.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's elements of that, but at the end of the day, I mean, if he has the right people around him, family or otherwise, they would tell him, or I would tell him, hey, you're 16. Like, at the end of the day, we're talking about a game that may not even be relevant necessarily 10 years from now. There might be some kind of crossover with like Smash and DC Universe or something happening, that he's like running the show for at that point. Like, you can't put yourself in a situation where this is your life, because people, especially teenagers, they're likely to do that. Not even just from a job standpoint, but something that you're really into becomes everything to a certain extent, and that might become an issue in the long run if people are telling you that hey, you're sponsored. Hey, you need to focus on this. There's a difference between having focus and focusing on the task at hand because that's part of being professional
Sure.
and being told that, this is everything because we're giving you money for it to be everything. And so therefore someone's still in school. Like you're still in school. You're trying to figure out what you're going to do with the rest of your life. It's not, you might not necessarily be in a diagonal situation where you're going to be doing for the next 30 years. You might find other interests. Again, 16-year-old. My man is not probably even driving on his own all the time. So you can't talk to someone about those kind of responsibilities and hold them to a situation where things can change, from a
Right.
creative perspective, or even just from they might decide they like to get into acting at some point, or
Thank you.
they might love music. We're talking about one interest in one in a kid's life at 16 years old. I think about myself at 16 and how much stuff I was into and spread out about.
Oh,
There's just
man.
elements of that you have to be kind of realistic for. Obviously, people who are sponsoring him might have a bit more, push there. But there's got to be a level of leniency, I feel like, especially when it comes to if you're really trying to push for, mental health being properly respected. But to keep that in mind for, you know,
Yeah.
a kid. I mean, he's still a
Yeah.
kid.
He's still finding himself, and if he has found himself, there's no saying that he won't change and be somebody else, in the next so many years. I mean, I'm almost 30 and like I got video games in front of me. I mean, we're talking gaming. I got Pokemon cards over here, still a piano behind me because I write music, all types of shit. Like I'm still finding myself, so I can only imagine what some of these kids are doing. And I think with how young they are too, and with how much access to the rest of the world that they have just at their fingertips, who knows? Like he might one day get on TikTok and see something cool in the pottery department or something. Like, damn, I didn't know you can make pots and pans. I want to make pots and pans. No more Cloud Strife, no more FaZe Clan. I am pots and pans Spargo now, man. Like this is what I'm into. All right, and that's just it, And so I'm
At the
glad,
end of the day,
he's
those
finding
skills aren't
himself.
going to go away. I mean, my
Yeah.
man's has the elements here. People have to remember that the human brain does not stop maturing until your mid 20s. We have people out here, the same one the Street Fighter end, you know, people we were talking about Punk back in the day and other folks, you're hitting like these games at 15, 16, and you're hitting major sponsors, you're beating 30-year-old players and stuff like that. Their brains are still forming.
That's very true.
And there's you're putting in all these hours of practice and training and everything else. Like that's not going to just go away. Your response time and those kind of things over time. If he want to get back into it, if he takes some time away, there's still plenty of time and plenty of life to get into more fighting games or Smash or any other scene. May it cause a situation where the sponsor may have to move on because of the plans they had for supporting the scene with this pickup. Yeah,
Sure.
maybe. I mean, but there's not any sponsorship on the planet that's worth potentially
No.
the elements of someone else's mental health, especially someone this young. When we
That
see the elements of suicide rates at high school age teenagers and stuff like that. Um, yeah, that's just my opinion on that. And if people are out there being haters because my man's got signed and you've been playing the game for 15 years or whatever, then you got some bigger problems there.
You got some major problems. And friends, it's just a platform fighter, okay? But on the topic of platform fighters, we're going to move on to the next one really quick. We got to talk a little bit about multiverses, and I'm glad you linked this in the chat because we talk about the importance of crossover. Like Diddy said about 15 years ago, collab or die. Remember they were wearing those shirts on BT for a while?
I do.
And that sentiment is still being forced to this day, okay? This season of multiverses has been a great one. Of course, we at Shacknews had the opportunity to get our hands on it a little bit earlier than the rest of the community, myself and Donnie, and we had a really great time with it.
Yeah, I was jealous.
Sorry, man. We did some cool content, man. But when it comes out officially, sometime in July, like we can all get a Shack stream together and do our damn thing. So in the meantime, they've been doing these side events. I would imagine they have another closed alpha somewhere where they're just playing with themselves and not sharing. But the Purple Sharpie was the host.
Oh, yeah.
Ajax was the commentator. But the other guest commentator was the legendary fighting game extraordinaire that we all love and know as IFC Yipes. And I believe in this bracket, we played a match, and it was Team Spooky. It doesn't get much more prolific in the fighting game community than that. With Leviathan, who I believe comes from Rushdown Revolt, a game that I have some skin in the game with, who is now playing a little bit more multiverses. And Apology Man, somebody that you and I know of very well,
Oh,
teaming
yes.
against Broker. This was amazing to see. I like this a lot.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that I like to see as far as, a showcase. This is what I hope that they do with games like Street Fighter 6, where you get a very diverse, group of people together to both, commentate, but also play the game. You're showing off different elements from different play styles, because these are the kind of questions and kind of comments you get on Twitter and such. Like, I can't wait till I see so and so, get on this game. I'm sure you're gonna go crazy with this kind of character. If you get those kind of elements on screen in these kind of invitationals, like, I feel like this is the kind of thing that definitely hypes up the game more so than just seeing a character reveal and then maybe, them hitting some like one or two generic combos against like a test dummy. Like,
That's right.
show me more of like elements of people getting to play out with different characters, test them out, because obviously, as you see in game, folks will play with different characters and then they're like, you know what, this is more my style, and they start figuring that out. And that's one of those things we're going to see day one as well, when there's more of the roster available, where people are like, you know what, I've played through most of the roster or whatever. I like Arya, or I like, Cat Dog or something, not in this game. But yeah, just things like that. I like seeing those. And then, of course, ISC Yipes hype in any kind of commentating is definitely worth the price of admission, in my opinion. I really hope to see some of the veterans on that end kind of get into the scene for a platform fighter. I think it would be really unique, and also get more people, I think, enticed to give it a try.
That's right. And you know what? Even during the commentary, Black Yipes went on to say, like, man, I can't believe I'm actually here, like, commentating a platform fighter. I'm so happy and honored to just, be here and be accepted. And honestly, man, when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, dude, like, yeah, there are platform fighters and, but fuck it, there's puzzle fighters and traditional fighters. Like, it's just all a part of the same thing. All right. We're all part of one big old cinematic universe of games where we want to beat up the other person that we love on the other side, and I'm happy to see that crossover. We've seen it a little bit in the beginning of like most fighting games, like even Pokken Tournament. People don't even remember the first Pokken Tournament invitation was commentated by Mark Mann and well, D1's no longer in the community, but D1, who was basically the spokesperson for Smash. And then there were teams. I think Tasty Steve had a team in Pokken, and a lot of people had teams. So, the fighting game community does a really good job at coming over and crossing over. Now, of course, that's the front end of things. In the back end of things, as commentators and TOs and players, I know why. Some games have more money than others, so it's like, let me get in early, get my footing, X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Multiverses has done a really good job at weeding that out and finding people who really just eat, sleep, and breathe this game. First of all, Ajax being a part of Multiverses, I think really speaks a lot, because more times than not, when a game comes out, they're literally just going to search fighting game commentators and look and see who has the most followers, verification check mark, blue, boom, boom. But they didn't do that. Not saying that our guys in Smash and in the fighting game community don't have the same passion, but they got somebody like Ajax, who is still on the grind, who's doing really great work these days. But they got him because they know that no matter what he does, he eats, breathes, and sleeps what he does for a living, which is commentating video games that he loves. And then, of course, to bring in somebody like, Sharpie, who has, I don't know how long they've been around in the community, but they've been doing some really great stuff, especially since like the pandemic.
Sharpie's been putting in that work, between community management with Skullgirls and just keeping that game, Skullgirls, which has been around since 2011. Keeping that relevant, where they're doing like filling out 68-man brackets, 64-man brackets and stuff like that at Combo Breaker. Those kind of things are happening. And you want that kind of passion directed at your game. I feel like, when it comes to both the commentary side, but also there can be a level of insecurity when you're switching into a different platform, situation, Even though Yipes has also been involved in like Call of Duty and stuff like that from time to time, I think that there still can be those moments where you're like, like you said, just feeling accepted and those kind of things. Mm-hmm. More of that kind of word of mouth gets around, and you're gonna get more of that crossover happening early on. I think I don't know personally the community side of things for Multiverses currently, but I feel like they've been knocking it out of the park as far as that goes early on.
They most definitely have. And I think to have somebody like Yipes to be the first, like, of the fighting game commentators to come over to the platform. Well, Sharpie too as well. I don't want to take anything away from her, but to have Sharpie and Yipes both come over, I think is speaking to the community in a good way. And Multiverse, of course, with a lot of eyes is going to show the rest of the gaming hemisphere that there is room for everybody. I mean, we all grew up with these characters in some degree, you know, whether they are newer characters like Game of Thrones characters or, you know, they're Tom and Jerry classics, but come on over and hang out with us. And then to have Team Spooky and Bracket, are you fucking
Yeah.
kidding me? I'm going anywhere Team Spooky's going. Let's be real.
Yeah, it's a solid lineup. Having somebody like Apology Man as well, who's always going to be adapting on the fly to things. I feel like I the way that things are lining up right now makes me feel like there might be a chance that this is going to have some kind of television side at some point, or people in front of the camera, like on TV, because you got the elements. It might not be necessarily on TNT or something like that, but there's a whole HBO Max out there. You know, there's a chance that maybe they put some special content out there, even if it's just with the making of the game and early elements of it. But there's been a push on the HBO Max side. Just, you know, from me as a wrestling fan, there's been talks about them having more of a live side of that service to be able to watch live wrestling because of the connections of AEW and you know, WB, TNT, TBS, those kind of things. And to fill out some of that content, they could start moving more into the esports route. You know, wrestling, esports, fighting game, stuff like multiverses, and then having like live boxing, those kind of things in there all in the mix. It would make a lot of sense with all of the branding and the crossover happening here to kind of move into that direction. So, I mean, we haven't seen any info like that yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if there were, say, an invitational or some kind of event announced. You add in some celebrities or something like that, you know, and maybe give the game a try, and then have, you know, a mixture of that happening. I think it would make some noise.
I'm ready to make some noise in multiverses as well. Now, another game that's been making some noise too, another company rather that's been making some noise is Capcom here as of late. Of course, we've been talking about Street Fighter 6 and we've been doing a lot of coverage on that. Big shout out to you. And then of course Greg and Ozzy, who I think went to the Summer Games Fest and did a little bit of you know, videography for the game as well. But before we get to Street Fighter 6, of course, we still got to get through this final installment, this final little area that we like to call Street Fighter 5 that everybody loves so much. And we got the Capcom World Warrior Tour coming soon. Denny, you want to break that down for us? Give us all the makings of what that's supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, again, Capcom is going to do their World. I mean, here is World Warrior, but as you may have known before, with current World Tour and such, Capcom they're definitely still sticking to keeping Street Fighter as relevant as possible. It seems moving forward and making the regional game. I think that's really important to Capcom in general, and so they're going through some different qualifiers here to make that definitely a thing. I think we're going to see this expand when Street Fighter 6 comes out, but just for now, even with Street Fighter 5 currently, there's going to be 14 online premieres, so they're still supporting the online side of things with the overall events per region, and then there's going to be 26 players that will be able to qualify for spots for that as well. So I think that the elements that you have here of the way the program works, which is starting up next month, I believe from July until usually I think the December would be the end time for the Pro Tour. There's going to be elements here that you see with the breakdown. Asia, Oceania, Japan, South Korea is going to have their own event option. Central America, you know, Midwest love, U.S. Midwest as well. U.S. East, Brazil, South America. So you can see it's clearly very diverse here. It's over 26 regions will all get opportunity to play for spots along the Pro Tour. And I think that with that element of how they're going about things here, where there's been games like Mortal Kombat and such have similar situations where they've had stuff in Latin America, England, Europe, and stuff like that. But I think that Capcom wants to be the premier World Tour game. Like if you're playing this game anywhere on the planet, you have an opportunity to qualify in some way, shape, or form for the main scene. I think that's the right way to go about it. I mean, obviously they've had the history and they've been doing elements of this over the years, but I think that with the way things are going here, we're seeing kind of the fingerprints of something they're going to expand on as they move into next year after the drop of Street Fighter 6, which, I mean, we don't have a release date yet, but it's definitely going to happen before the Pro Tour starts, obviously. Right. So I would believe that maybe we'll see towards the earlier portion of the year, and then they'll give time for people to kind of, adapt, get the grassroots seed kind of growing, and then we'll see which events will kind of be qualified for become a premier event moving
That's
forward
facts,
too.
man. And you know what? I'm actually happy you talked about that because I've always felt like Capcom is trying to regain that prominence and being like the ultimate world tour. I think since they initially did theirs, of course, other games have been doing it at the same level, just about. I mean, we see it. We see certain stops treated differently than others. Like I know, for instance, Combo Breaker's a tour stop, but
Yeah.
like it feels more Tekken. Like this is a tour stop, friends. But when Tekken takes the stage, like sit down and shut up. But like everybody's gonna have their time. But like and they don't know it. When Mortal Kombat 11 was first coming out, there was a time where I felt the same way at Combo Breaker. Like, hey, Combo Breaker's a stop for the tour. Mortal Kombat 11 though is the new kid on the block and they're making the noise. Yes, this is a stop for everybody, but Mortal Kombat, this is their weekend. And I think Capcom's trying to regain that. And I think this is a good way to build like some good hype and to get back into, I don't want to necessarily say good graces, but to make sure that everybody gets that one final hoorah. Everybody, all the regions are, shown at their highest extent before we move into Street Fighter 6. And I'm not surprised that somebody like Capcom made this play, and I think this is coming at a really perfect time because I don't know if I'm reading the terrain correctly, Denny, but I think people are just kind of done with Street Fighter 5? I mean, they're playing it because it's the newest one, but like, are they just ready to hang it up?
I mean, we've gotten everything that, as far as content wise, out of the game is out there. This is going. It reminds me of kind of like the end of Street Fighter 4 era, when there were things like Red Focus and you had characters out there like Conte and stuff like that. They were popping up, and so I think we're definitely in that period of time where people are like, okay, this is our time to rack up the last bit of W's and become more prominent leading into the new game. But I mean, this is also, we're in a situation where these are online opportunities, so there's elements here where maybe if people are taking a bit of a break before getting ready for the new game, there might be opportunity for some new stars or some new faces to kind of move up here on the online scene if you can't necessarily travel to each event. You got different stuff right here. Like there's some of these events I haven't actually heard of in particular, but I know a lot of the like European stuff here, like the Salt Mine League, BCN fighters and stuff like that. Those elements getting a chance to shine here might make it easier for them to put on more in-person grassroots events after the game drops, even if they're not premier events. A lot of these have weekly elements to them. That just weren't able to continue going on with the way the pandemic was for the period of time. But being officially part of something that Capcom's putting together regionally might give them a bit more of a leg to stand on as they move into preparing for a Street Fighter 6. So I'm glad to see the Capcom's help, supporting it healthfully in this way. I think there's still some life left in the game itself. It's obviously, I mean, after seeing so much of 6 the past few weeks and seeing like the changes in what you can do that you can't do in 5, yeah, some people are going to probably just kind of sit out for a bit.
Yeah.
But there's enough people that it's going to make most of these scenes still competitive at a high level because there's still money involved.
Absolutely.
And people got bills to pay too.
Yeah.
That's not going to go away just because a new game is coming out. It just means that you have opportunity to maybe make a mark for yourself in the next couple months, which might end up being good for you when it comes to being invited to an invitational or some other element, with the new game coming out.
That's true. Because if it's one thing the fighting game community loves, it's a good storyline and it's a good narrative, man. And what better way to build yours than to go crazy at the end of one game and then carry it over into the next one? Let people know that it's not just a mechanic thing and it ain't just a fluke. I'm nice. And all Street Fighters, I'm going to go ham, man, in all of them. So for everybody watching out there, I mean, this is how you obviously get involved. Those were all the tour stops. So definitely check that out. Capcom, of course, doing some really good shit. And they are just really trying to reclaim their spot at, top of the hill, king of the hill in the fighting game community. And I think 6 is going to be a return to formation, friends. But enough fighting game talk. All right, we got to talk about some other esports, Denny. All right, I'm sorry. I put too many fighting game stories in the run of show. We got to
There's
talk
never
about...
too many fighting game stories, or maybe if there's if there's more shooters involved. All right.
Well, we got to talk about some shooters, actually.
Yeah, it's just that time.
Well, X said dismantles 100 Thieves in NA VCT stage number 2. And I know we've been covering this for a while. We love us some Valorant up here at Shacknews. Some of us vary in skill. Like for me, I'm absolute dog shit. But then there's Brian, who's actually really good, who's not here with us this week because we had to move the show to Tuesday because yesterday was a holiday. All right, friends, you hear me?
Happy 19th for those of you who got some time off to celebrate.
That's right. It's a holiday, friends. All right. I don't care what you heard. All right. I'm willing to die on that hill. It's a holiday. Okay. We need the day off. All right. But there was an event, and Xset beat my 100 Thieves again, and I'm getting a little tight. Well, they're not the first ones to do it. This is their time doing it, but last week or the week before last, another team did it as well. And so I'm like, what's going on with my 100 Thieves? Are we not thieving hard enough? What's going on here? According to the Carnage report that they have, CryoSales was the MVP of the match in helping Xset come back from an early 6-1 ass beating. All right, we were whooping that butt. And then somewhere along the course of that match, they started clawing themselves back into even footing, and they ended up beating us. Denny, did you get a chance to watch any of this?
I didn't get a chance to watch the actual event live, no, but I did watch some of the highlights. And I mean, one thing that people kind of forget about, not really necessarily forget, but you can't take for granted is the ability to adapt to team strategy. Mm-hmm. In a situation like this where you're down that heavily, I mean, someone on the team's got to make some decisions there that lead to reading some of what the elements are kind of coming up with. It kind of reminds me of like Obi-Wan last week. And they had a whole scene with like Anakin and Obi-Wan, and they're fighting with the lightsabers, and Anakin's telling them, "Hey, I'm always gonna try and win." And Obi-Wan's like, you're always focused on victory, but not on, strategy. And in this situation, you want to close up the win, but you also have to strategize on what you're doing right and how can you change the elements of the game itself to make it work for you. If you're down 6, it's time to change things up. So clearly they did in a way that they weren't prepared for. I mean, that's what makes a good team a great team. If you have the confidence in yourself and the team to come up from a deficit like that and actually make it work, it gives you both a confidence boost and you can do it. So when you move into those more tight-knit situations down the line, you've done it before. That does a lot for a team, I feel like. So unfortunately, for 100 Thieves, they may have had to hold a little bit of a no, but there's still opportunity, hopefully, for them to bounce back.
And I think you're 100% right. I'm looking at some of their past matches here. I actually have the site pull it up, so I'm actually just like looking at the stats. And the runs haven't been terrible. They haven't been terrible for either side. Xset, I feel like, is a team that I feel like even I sometimes forget about. As much as I follow Aaron Ashley Simon's work, completely spaces that she has an entire esports team that beats ass, and they look good doing it. And here I am, good Lord. Wow, what are words? 100 Thieves, okay? They lost to TSM, but they had beat TSM earlier in the season. They beat them 2-0. But I'm also looking at Xset as well too. They have some really good matches. They lost to Cloud9 1-2. But they beat a couple other teams. I believe they beat Evil Geniuses as well too. I think we covered that as well. So it seemed like both sides are doing a really good job at, like you said, adapting. And I lost you earlier in the season. Let's hit the ground running. Let's hit the lab. Let's strategize, like you said, because that's what it's really more about. We want the end destination to be victory, but we have to make sure that the destination in the middle, that strategizing, that adaptation, is where it needs to be. And it just feels like Xset just has it. I mean, the next match that they have is, I believe it is Sunday, March 6th. That should be at 3 p.m. our time because it is the Central Midwest Boys show this week. They'll be playing on the current patch 4.02. So for those of us friends who love themselves some Valorant, be sure to tune in and catch all of that. My 100 Thieves are not thieving as hard as they should be. So yeah, but Xset though, they're doing well. And big shout out, of course, to Aaron Ashley Simon and everybody else that has a helping hand in that organization because they're doing great work.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely been showing.
Yes. They are doing some awesome work. Now, is Briggsy still showing up here? I'm running out of things to talk about, and I want to talk about some Overwatch too. I'm gonna be honest with you, Danny.
Well, she just hit me up. Apparently, like her PC or something died, or her camera mic combo is dead, so we can't have her join right now. Unfortunately, she was hanging out right before the show, and something happened. So we lost Briggsy on this end. We'll have to invite her back, talk Overwatch 2 with us. Gotta hit the rips in chat. I don't know. Hold on. Now I don't hear you. What happened?
Wait, am I good now?
Yeah, I was like, is it spreading? What's happening here?
That's right. It's a sickness. God damn it. The camera mic combo is killing everybody. We'll talk some Overwatch 2 without Briggsy. Briggsy, I hope everything works well on your end, and hopefully we can get you on for the next episode because there's going to be plenty of Overwatch to talk about.
Yeah, there's definitely plenty of content dropping. I mean, they're in full marketing mode now for this game.
The Junker Queen trailer, Denny?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts?
I mean, okay, so as someone who hasn't dabbled in Overwatch for quite some time, we're getting back into things. I think that gameplay wise, she looks fairly interesting. I feel like personally, not sure if she'd be a character I would necessarily use, but I do like the in your face type of elements here. But she has a pretty sweet gun. Like that's. Actually, I imagine the skins and stuff for her are going to also be pretty cool. But I think that she definitely fits a couple of things that other characters are lacking. Well, as you can see in the gameplay trailer, she's got some solid range on this the shotgun action she's doing. But she also has this like sweet dagger that you can use to like you toss through. You can set up for different traps. So that element seems to be the big deal. Ultimate wasn't necessarily quite sold on, but I think the people are going to be into her.
I think so too. I think people have just been demanding something different for so long in Overwatch in a lot more ways than one. Character-wise, character aesthetics-wise, how these characters are going to play, maps, the game's functionality. Where can we watch this shit at? Obviously, YouTube. All right, we got to go to YouTube, no more Twitch. But I think she's a nice break from the norm, and I'm really excited to see what the future of her is going to hold. I know we've seen a bit of her before, and like some of the other, like you said, they're on their marketing shit right now. We've seen a bit of her like before, like kind of tease, and we got, kind of like a generalized idea of what she was going to bring to the table. But to see it in full-fledged gameplay right now, I think it's definitely a treat. I'm excited.
She seems like the type of character that would do like the crossover and like League or something like that, or like one of the other budget titles, because she has a lot of different elements of her playstyle. The axe is pretty sweet. I'm not gonna lie. It kind of makes me wish that she had a giant hammer, but the axe is still pretty cool too. But I think that like the dagger is the part that kind of like sells me a bit more on her, because you can use it in midair during drops and stuff like that. So there's a couple elements that I like. Like she's more multifaceted with both the gun action, the dagger, and then the axe finish. It's pretty cool. I just feel like I'd be pretty clumsy with her as far as like being able to make all that stuff work in game. But for people that are actually good at this game, could be a pretty solid game changer. It makes people curious to see what they're gonna do with new characters coming in the game to kind of change things up. Because a lot of the complaints I've seen so far have just been people pointing out, well, we have same maps as the first game. We have similar characters as well, returning. What's actually new here? But at the same time, guys, it's going to be free. Like it's October 4th is going to come around, and you'll be able to play for free. So why not try it out? I mean, I feel like that's what they're banking on. A lot of things are coming on since Overwatch, first kind of blew up. And I do think that the YouTube deal does hurt them as far as the professional scene goes. But there are opportunities for them to kind of adapt on, in a way that makes sense. As far as making this game still have a decent, thriving scene. There's still passionate people who are into it, like Briggsy. Who hype the game up every time I see it on my timeline. And changes the team comp and stuff like that is another big element. But there's opportunity right now, I feel like, for them to kind of lean more into what's going to make the game different from its last iteration. And I think the main focus for that should be characters. Like, you gave me characters that are available in the original game. They should be the game changers in a way that sells people on the titles moving forward here.
Yeah, 100%, bro. I think with people, especially with like good people in the forefront, kind of shaping how this is supposed to go this time, because I think Overwatch started out like really powerful, like in the right, like they've pretty much had everything, bro. Like there was just a time where like when Overwatch stuff would happen, the world would just stop. World would literally stop and everybody's like, dude, I'm not doing anything. I'm playing Overwatch. There was even times where I was pulling up the fighting game tournaments and people were running Overwatch on the computer, full on watching Overwatch events. And I'm just like, you know what?
Yeah.
I think we're on to something here. Like this is some pretty good shit. And then of course they falter a little bit and they stumble. But I think too, with it being free to play, good characters for the good character for the most part, at least in terms of what we have game footage of. I think Overwatch 2 is going to be in a good spot. I'm very excited more than anything competitively to see the content that's going to come out from it too. I know Briggsy, of course, wasn't able to pull up today, but of course with creators like her and a handful of other people, like, dude, you could almost argue that the content creation is better sometimes than the actual gameplay itself.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely elements of that. I think that, people have to remember that Overwatch was like 2016. Like it's had a long life cycle, but there weren't games that were taking off like that. And even the content creation scene as well, the way that they're kind of growing hand in hand. A lot of people took what they learned from creating Overwatch content and they applied it to other games that eventually took off. You have your Fortnite, you have your Valorant, your Apex Legends, those kind of things. To keep up and stay competitive, you have to come out with a competitive product. And I feel like right now, you look back at Overwatch in its early days, the main thing that Overwatch had for it, outside of like the character design and stuff like that, is that it convinced people to play together in large sets. And if you didn't have your entire friend set, you found new friends. It's like, if you're missing someone to fill out a full team or whatever, a lot of people would make new friends and make new friend circles or friend groups or join different, Discords or different, hitting people up on Twitch, content creators, etc. It got that kind of movement going, so people were always on the game. You see that in other games all the time now, obviously, but that's the element we have to kind of get back to. I feel like if they can, the same way that Street Fighter 6 is changing up things, in a way that's bringing it back towards being a premiere. I don't know if Overwatch 2 would be the premiere, in the genre right now, but there's an opportunity here, I think, if they can land enough things right, where it might take off.
Yeah, and I think with these shooters, I think especially like when I think of Fortnite and Overwatch, like one kind of laying the foundation for how the other one is in some various ways. I think even with like Fortnite, they're not trying to rekindle that energy that they had in the beginning where like they're just everywhere. They just want to become a household name now so they can live forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Overwatch 2 wants to get that. I don't think they want that. I mean, of course, any company will want that boom, but I think they're aiming for the boom if possible, but if nothing else, they just want to become, back in the conversation of like topical pieces. And I think Overwatch 2 is looking very promising as a shooter. Now, we got one more shooter here to talk about, and it's actually our final segment here of the day. CSGO, Denny. I thought this was funny as fuck. I'm gonna keep it real.
Yeah,
$2 million in CSGO skins have been hacked and stolen. Some items getting moved and sold as we speak. As you and I are chit-chatting right now and jaw-jacking about it, stuff is getting sold, stuff is getting moved. This is the most expensive inventory all time, containing the most legendary items in CSGO history. 7-time souvenir Dragon Lures, No Star Karambit, and #1 Blue Gems, and so much more. Please spread this. If someone from CSGO or Steam sees this was of 8 hours ago, maybe this issue has resolved itself. Message me and I'll get in contact with them and get it all sorted. Half of the items got quick sold and are gone. The other half sent to the hacker's Steam account and are sitting on a trade hold. It's not too late, friends. Don't exactly know how shit like this happens, but I am very, very concerned. What are your thoughts on this, man?
I'm always confused about these type of situations where there's a major hack on Steam of all things. And I know we've seen some of that happening with scenarios of NFTs as well recently. I feel like there should be some kind of track record or way to see how things are being moved around in this scenario. And so I have to hope that this is going to be resolved in a way that makes sense. I mean, for it to be that large of amount of money. I mean, at the same time, though, if the actual company doesn't step in, I don't know how you go about enforcing some kind of lawsuit or something for that kind of cash to get any portion of that back in a digital storefront. But
that's facts, bro.
There's got to be people probably way smarter than me that would have already looked into something like this. I mean, CSGO has been around forever. I'm sure this isn't the first time there's been a hack, but for $2 million plus,
listen, bro, this game prides itself on skins and inventory.
Yeah,
$2 million. I mean, bro, that's ridiculous. Like, and
someone was racking up,
bro. And they said that this went unnoticed for a while. Like, this wasn't like a one fail swoop. Like they did it. Like they said, this had gone on. Matter of fact, let me find it really quick just to make sure like I'm getting the story correct. Wait, where did I put it? Oh shit, did I delete it by mistake? I might have accidentally deleted it. But they said that, no, hold on, I'm gonna just look it up. Hold up. Watch this. CSGO stolen inventory.
Yeah, those are some ridiculous numbers. I mean, yes, skins, boxes, and such.
A hacker allegedly stole more than 2 million in CSGO skins and items from an inventory, which popular skin collector Oni Pixel claims is the most expensive in quotes of all time. Oni Pixel said that the inventory contained 7 souvenir AWP Dragon Lore, which is one of the most expensive skins that a CSGO player can own. He alleged some items had already been sold while the rest were sent to the hacker's Steam account and are sitting in a trade hold. Oni Pixel urged the CSGO developers or an employee at the Steam account to contact him so he can help the inventory's owners retrieve the items. The email and password of the inventory owner's Steam profile were changed a week ago but went unnoticed, according to Oni Pixel. Apparently, the hacker didn't even bother to make a huge profit on the skins and instead sold part of the inventory for the market price listed on Steam. Skins and cosmetics in general are a huge part of the success of CSGO. This is not only because the average player can buy and equip them, but also because cosmetics such as team logos and player autographs are released for every CSGO major. It went unnoticed for about a week, Denny. That's in fucking sanity.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. I mean, but him selling things at market price is also pretty wild. I mean, someone probably just didn't even know what they had.
Dude, or maybe he was like Robin Hood. He was just like, you know what? We just gonna sell these for whatever people are asking for, man. Get this shit out of here. You know, maybe it could have been something like that.
That's so wild.
Dude, insane. Well, friends, that's gonna wrap all the esports topics here for the week. But you know what that means. Now we gotta get into the most fun part of the show. And yes, not the interview, not even the Briggsy Cakes, potential segment, not even the esport talk. That's right. It is sauce talk. Okay, it's time to talk some food, and I wanted to make sure I highlighted some black stories, Denny. Okay, if you don't mind, I figured that you would be down for that as well, right?
For sure. I mean, what a week we had over here on Shacknews 6, but it is also we're coming off of the reason why the show itself is happening on Tuesday.
That's facts.
Is because of Juneteenth,
That's
which
facts.
I hope that people have been looking into the history of and not just using it as a reason to. I mean, the things I've seen on the internets has been quite disappointing. But I'm hoping that our amazing viewers are looking into things and paying attention to why this is becoming a national holiday in comparison to other things. I wish the corporations would take the kind of time out instead of putting together Juneteenth plates and watermelon salads. But that's a conversation for another day.
Well, you know what? Here at Shacknews, the wonderful pet in charge, that's right, Lola, the wonderful Pomeranian, and of course, Asif Khan, aka the man with the briefcase, made sure that we got the day off because, goddamn it, we all deserve a day off. Why not? Okay. So big shout out, of course, to them, and big shout out to everybody that's getting ready to tune in for the Sauce Talk segment. So the first one is your corporation, Denny. Denny's unveils the new social media stars influence menu. Denny, I don't know what you're thinking, but we got shortberry dream cakes, and brisket all melt. Okay, it says starting June 2022, the 22nd day of the month, Denny's will debut an all-new social stars influence menu featuring shortberry dream cakes and brisket all melt, and brisk BBQ melt, or brisk BQ melt. Excuse me. Make sure I get it right. Okay, this is your corporation, for God's sake. For the brand's latest iteration of its social stars influence menu. Let's go ahead and click in. We're gonna read a little bit more about this because I'm in a read mood. Okay, Denny's also partnered up with the rapping chef. Oh damn, rapping chef at MRPY REX. And Grace underscore Africa for the brisket all melt. I think that's supposed to be a play on like risk it all, like brisket all, like I'm about to
Yeah.
risk it all. Okay, see, I see what
I
you're
have
doing
heard of
at the
Grace
dev team,
Africa
Danny.
before, so I do know of that
Okay.
influencer, at least. But
And then I think for the other one, Dimitri Robinson, aka at Meech on Twitter, and Kels right at Kels for curating the Shortberry Dream Cakes. Now, look, you're in Chicago, okay? You have a billion great places to eat, okay? Restaurants with you know, deep dish pizza not being one of them. But you have Denny's where you're at. Are you planning on checking this out?
well, let's start off things right here, okay? I think the last time that I was in a Denny's was after a party in college, all right? Because it has been forever since I've been inside of an actual Denny's. It's been quite some time, all right? That being said, the brisket doesn't look bad. I mean, look, at the same time though, do I trust Denny's to be making steak brisket or anything like that? I don't know if that's necessarily something I would trust there, but I do like strawberry shortcake. So the idea of a shortberry, pancake style,
Sure.
still appeals to me. You know, I would probably give it a try. But the thing is, like me actually going to a Denny's when there's so much other competition here in Chicago for breakfast food. I mean, the thing is, the people are like, well, what's wrong with Denny's? Look, all right, it's not something necessarily personally wrong with Denny's, but we have an amazing, Latino neighborhood here, all right, and the way they hook up those like chiquiles, these eggs, all right, I can get like some nice salsa de amor on the side with my fried eggs and such. I'm never going back. So locally, I'm all going to choose, the local joints over at Denny's. We have Chicago chicken and waffles here. There's a lot of different things that are happening in
You
town.
guys have some bomb ass spots out in Chicago that I'm sure like Denny's has even become an afterthought with. Like,
Because otherwise, you don't look. You either good or you don't survive. Like, there's not going to be a ton of trash food that's just still doing numbers out here. People are like, look, you better be fired. I'm telling all my friends on the block that the new joint that just opened up is trash, and you'll be gone in 3 months. That's just facts. Like,
you guys
like,
have a bomb spot out there. I watched this YouTube guy. His name is Corporate. I'm pretty sure you might know of him too. He does like really funny videos and stuff. But he always goes to a restaurant in his videos. I think it's like a Jamaican restaurant or something. It has like this really good sauce, and it's like this. I don't know where it is. I would imagine it's probably in the cool part of Chicago where everything cool happens.
I can tell you right now that Chicago will jerk anything. So if it's jerk tacos, jerk nachos, jerk chicken, jerk brisket, jerk. If you like jerk, there's a spot called Fry Style, and they'll do jerk chicken fries for you, bake it in there with brisket or whatever you want. Any kind of jerk you will want in a situation, they will do it for you. I've seen jerk fried rice. All right, I've seen jerk gyros. I've seen jerk everything out here in these streets. So if you're into that, Chicago is the place to be. There's actually a spot called Jerk Taco Man that is literally just jerk tacos. Like we got some of all that. All right, and you ain't got it's not just in like the Jamaican part of the city and all that stuff. No. West side, north side, you can get some of that anywhere.
Anywhere. That's right, man. You know what? I need to come back to Chicago. I can't believe that Combo Breaker would have been literally my only stop in Chicago a year, but the Smash community is starting to kind of dissipate a little bit, like in terms of like hosting big things, and it's just Combo Breaker. I gotta have more reason to come there. I got family. On the south side of Chicago. Even me talking about this food right now is getting me hungry. I know I need to visit soon.
Yeah, Chef Mike invited us.
We gotta go.
You gotta make it happen.
I'm gonna make it happen. Everybody from Shacknews, not to tangent too much, we all just gotta meet up one weekend, take a weekend off, all meet up somewhere, and go get fucking food. Like, just get a hotel somewhere nice, vibe out, and just have a Shack weekend. I'm down to do it in Chicago in the warmer months because it gets damn cold, all right, and it gets windy, all right. But I'm down to do it in the warmer months, Denny, all right. I'm going to be the first one to speak it into existence. I'm also the first one with absolutely no money to do this. So, of course, I'm the first one to speak it into existence. but I would like to come to Chicago and hang out with everybody.
I'm down for it. We can definitely plan some things out. I mean, there's plenty of time. I mean, I think that with 2023 being like, it's building up to be like a legendary year for games.
Mm-hmm.
Why not, add the element into it as well? The major Shacknews meetup.
That's true. That's very true. Now I tell you who ain't gonna be eating jerk any goddamn thing or brisket all nothing. It's gonna be Kevin Hart. Okay. For our next topic, Kevin Hart is dabbling in the restaurant business, and you know what? As funny as that sounds, not funny literally or in a figurative way, but just as funny as it sounds, he's not the first celebrity to open up a restaurant. There's been plenty of people who have done it or who have backed restaurants. I believe there was Arnold Schwarzenegger was a part of it. You know, let me just actually Google that real quick. Celebrities who have owned restaurants. Okay, I know I can't
There's
be.
plenty of restaurants that don't. I mean, it's
Rick Ross, Ludacris. You know,
there's
what? Let's see real quick.
franchisees, and then there's people that open up their own restaurants from scratch. There's
Johnny Paul and Mark Wahlberg, Ryan Gosling, Susan Sarandon. I don't even know who the hell that is. Justin Timberlake.
you
John
don't know
Bon
Susan
Jovi.
Sarandon?
Hell no. Who is she? What is she in?
Look, all right.
Tony Hawk.
Like I mentioned earlier, Michael Jordan's got his own steakhouse out here.
That's true.
They have like a 22-layer chocolate cake. It's pretty ridiculous.
Robert De Niro has a restaurant as well. Heath Ledger. Oh, well, that's good. Jay-Z, the 40/40 Club. Okay, so Eva Longoria at the Beso restaurant. I will be checking that one out. Where's that one located? That one is where's that located? Located in Hollywood. Hollywood is so gross, but I do love me some Eva Longoria, so I'm about to check that out. But anyway, Kevin Hart though is opening a restaurant, and let's go ahead and let's break this down. Kevin Hart has announced the opening of 2 plant-based food restaurants named Hart House. The eateries will feature 100% plant-based menu consisting of sandwiches, salads, sides, and drinks. Currently, the location for one of the restaurants is listed in Westchester, a neighborhood of Los Angeles. The second location has not been named. However, it will be in funky-ass Hollywood. I founded Hart House to create a good experience that combines the joy of coming together over food with the power of purpose, expressed the actor on the Hart House website. Our amazing chefs and team members have crafted 100% plant-based menu that delivers a can't believe it flavor in every goddamn bite. I know you're going to love it. The comedian worked with CEO Andy Hooper, who recruited Chef Michael Salem, the former head of culinary innovation at Burger King. According to the Los Angeles Magazine, Kevin sort of conceptualized his ideas at the beginning of the pandemic. Hooper shared with the outlet, "If I were advising him at the time, I would say, don't you dare start a restaurant, and don't you ever start a restaurant in the middle of COVID. But after almost 2 years of really working on this menu and getting the food to a place where it can be delivered on that promise, we're ready to go, and we're excited to tell the world about Hart House, and we are excited to serve the food." When it comes to vegans making food for vegans, if you think you're immersed in that food too much, you can lose sight of what the carnivores truly want. And I'm not going to read the rest of this because it just kind of goes on to them kind of hyping them up. But, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I get where he's going with this. I mean, it's Hollywood. So having a plant-based only spot, I could see that he's like, I'm going to get in where I fit in this scenario, and then he's got the marketing bar being who he is. Then make it into a scene, maybe get, a couple of restaurants open on the West Coast, see how they do, get a franchise going, work out some scenarios where your door dashers and stuff like that, are able to deliver this food and it still be somewhat edible. It could be a smart move if the food itself is actually good.
Yeah.
That's going to be the main thing. I mean, there are obviously other plant-based options, but when it comes to marketing plant-based options, especially when it comes to making that happen in the Black community, I mean, there's going to be elements of that you need a figurehead like a Kevin Hart or someone else to kind of push it over the edge, I feel like. Now, that being said, this is also still in California, in Hollywood, in LA. So a lot of that is going to come down to pretty much just how the other crowds out there take on to it. But I mean, there's potential though. I mean, if you have the right people involved when it comes to food in general, not wasting people's time and having good food, those two things together are going to lead to the good things. Otherwise, you know, you can't be one of those situations where you're trying to be quote unquote hip, and your food will be out in 30 minutes. No, that's not going to work. Whether you're Hollywood or anywhere else at this point, especially post COVID.
Well, yeah, and you know, to your point, too, I'm glad you said something about that. I think Kevin Hart has a big presence that he can draw people in to do things, but I think a food industry thing is something a little different. I think the people's part of the brain that interacts with like entertainment and movies and stuff and seeing celebrities is a very different part of the brain that is associated with eating. You know, I mean, dude, you really are gonna have to sell this and like make people want to come, because in LA of all places, there's a fuck ton of competition.
Yeah, there's tons of competition. Yeah, for sure.
Bro,
but I mean, the main thing for me is the food. It has to be good. The food and stuff has to be good.
You're right.
That has to be the core there. You can have your Will Smiths, you can have whoever you want in the front of this, but if the food itself isn't good, you'll be out. We'll see. You know, but I just in this year.
I don't know if I want somebody like Will Smith serving me food these days. I don't want him to come up and slap me. But no, I feel you. You know, people in SoCal run off of fucking acai bowls and sushi any damn way and bad barbecue. So, you know, I mean, I'm sure, you know,
I'm saying, you got your Shacks, right, you know, Shaq is out here pushing Papa John's like it's you know, crack in the 80s. So I feel like at this point, being a figurehead for a franchise makes sense if the food is quality enough to actually put your name on. If it's not, and you're just doing it in a way that because someone told you some things, my man's better be eating half a majority of what's on this menu and have a seal of approval on it. Because I wouldn't put my name on anything that involves me eating, you know, pushing some product that I can't even eat myself.
Man.
So,
because I'm very picky when it comes to food. Like, I get very aggressive too, man. Like, especially at events. Like, I hate, you know, that Saturday night, everything's letting out. Okay, everybody, let's go eat. I'm like, now y'all want to go eat when the rest of Combo Breaker wants to go eat. Now, you know we ain't going to be able to find nowhere to eat. And then everybody's dragging their feet. Like, I just want one more match. I got to get one more match, and I got to do this, I got to do that. And then they take you to the spot, and it's supposed to be like one of the best spanking spots in town. And you get there, and it's some damn dog ass. And I'm just like...
You hate to see it.
I really hate to see it. Now, obviously, that was a hypothetical situation. That didn't actually happen. All my eating experiences have been great at Combo Breaker because Chicago. But I can imagine something like this happening in LA. Man, the tournament just let out, man. You know, we about to go check out. We got to go check out the Hart House. When I bring people to the Hart House, I'm like, Kevin, I don't know if you're watching this. The food better be great, man. I mean, everything else you do is great, so I would imagine some of that should rub off on the food options. But if I drag these people in my community here, I just hope they're going to be here for a good time because we got to stick together, man. Black on, okay? Juneteenth, all right? You get it? All right. But the food got to be good.
I mean, Kevin Hart's had some other issues too, but we're just not going to get into that either.
Yeah.
But we are coming up on the end, you know. We got to wrap things up so we have time for Steve Tendo.
That's right. All right, so of course, we love Kevin Hart. Nobody is without flaw. Big shout out to him, of course. He's doing better. I know he got injured a few years ago and, you know, the stuff, personal life stuff too, but he's becoming a better person. Shout out to Kevin Hart. And also, friends, big shout out to you, of course, for kicking it with Danny and I today. A bit of a different cast, you know, rework. Of course, Brian couldn't make it, you know. Typically, the show happens on Monday, but Lola the Pomeranian gave Danny and I the day off on Monday. So we had to move everything to today. And we brought Legion on. Big shout out to Jordan Payton. And, of course, big shout out to Briggsy Cakes. I know she wanted to pull up, but unfortunately, the internet was just not on her side, which is unfortunate, but
you know who did pull up, though?
Who pulled up, Danny? Talk about it.
Your boy, 8 Mikey, pulled up this week with the W for the week of June 12th, 2022, with the dominant win here. The point totals... incredible. I mean,
Mikey is a madman. How are we going to stop him?
It was a dangerous week to go up against 8 Mikey here. I mean, those Shaq Pets points over 270,000.
He is an absolute monster. I'm gonna pull up. I'm actually got the Carnage report right here. Yeah, 8 Mikey won. Shaq Pets with a total 21,000 points. That is crazy. And then Mason. Now, is that somebody on the Shacknews team? Am I the only person in Chatty using their real name? Okay, because Morgan has a really cool name. Isn't she like the one-winged angel or something like that? She has a cool name.
Winged Zara's on here. You know, Rumpo. You know, he's in here too. Bell's hanging out. You know, there's a couple members who are hanging out and they're putting in obviously the article points. and they're rocking the Shaq pets. But I mean, just a dominant performance by 8 Mikey. You should call him just 8-ring Mikey here because clearly, my man's he's pretty much 4 times the amount of points
You know
as
what?
everyone else who is involved on
You
the
know what,
list.
Denny? I'm gonna say it again though. Hey, Mikey can win Shacknews as much as he wants. All right, we can feed Lola the Pomeranian as many high quality doggy snacks as we want to. All right. Surfer Sam, I see he's in here too. Big shout out to him. He can win as much as he wants to and does do whatever he wants. I even see the man with the briefcase came in second. But you know who really won Shacknews forever? It's Blake Morris, aka Prof Robot. First and foremost, he got to meet Weird Al Yankovic, which
Oh, that's true.
is one of my heroes. Like I have a Mount Rushmore of people that I think are the coolest people ever. I think my Mount Rushmore is LeVar Burton, Crocodile Hunter, Mr. Rogers, Bill Nye the Science Guy, Neil Tyson DeGrasse,
There's a lot of educational people on this list.
Weird Al, and Lin-Manuel Miranda. That's my Mount Rushmore, and it's a lot more rock is being used than the boring fucking one that exists right now. Weird Al is on there, and he got to not only meet him, but then on Retail Therapy, our Saturday show where we unbox Pokemon cards, okay? We actually swap places. Usually he opens up the new stuff, and I dig through my binder of stuff that I collected as a kid, and I buy stuff frequently here and there. But we swapped roles, and god damn it, he pulled a Shadowless base set Charizard, easily a $500, $600 card, ungraded, graded, could be worth much more. And then he also, later on in the episode, pulled a base set 2 Charizard, which is worth a little bit less, but it's still a base set Charizard nonetheless from the original Wizards of the Coast collection. I am very jealous. Blake Morse, if you're watching this, I love you, and I've always thought you were the most handsome guy on Shacknews, and I think you're a lot cooler than everybody else. I'm not just saying that because I want you to give me a Charizard card. I mean it. But if you want to give me a Charizard card, I'll also take it.
we're gonna call him, Blake Big Charizard Morris from moving forward here. All right.
King of the Zards. Wow,
It has to
just
be.
absolutely insane. He won Shacknews for life. And friends out there watch, we got to wrap up the show, but you can win Shacknews for life as well. And you know what you need to do. It doesn't just start here with only watching the Wide World of Electronic Sports. It starts with watching all of our other programs. Pop Goes to Culture, The Dump, Retail Therapy.
Yeah.
We do 2 retail therapies, by the way, friends, and so much more. And in order to do that, you got to hit that follow button here. And if you really love the Danny and Rod experience here this week, then you got to hit that subscribe button, okay? Do yourself a favor, okay? You get some of the coolest emotes ever. Lola the Pomeranian. I don't know whose cat that is, but that's a cute cat. They're an emote. Of course, Greg's an emote. Asa's an emote. Prof Robot. And then, of course, the most handsome emote of all, Donovan Erskine from Pop Goes to Culture, okay? And he's a real person, by the way. Not like Danny and I. Him and Greg are real people. They're verified on Twitter, okay? So if you want to become a part of the Shack family, hit that subscribe button. Of course, you can hit that same subscribe button on YouTube as well. Gamer Hub videos, and of course Shacknews, reviews, previews, Steve views, and all the wonderful E6 content and retail therapy content and so much more. The one-stop shop, literally I almost said Walmart. Walmart's not cool. Your Target of gaming, okay, is the Shacknews on YouTube. We got everything. Big shout, of course, to Greg Brockleton Burke, Angry, what do they call him? No, the Video Jerk. Yes, Greg Brockleton Burke, the Video Jerk, because Greg goes to work. I'm still working on my rap for that.
These bars. Okay.
I know they're coming soon. Hold on, Mega Ran ain't the only one with bars, Denny. Hold on, man. Y'all should have had Uncle Rod come through. I would have performed at E6, but it's good. We'll get it right for E7 coming soon. Of course, Shack Pets, download that, free to play. Of course, stop doom scrolling and start flume and fluff scrolling, okay? It's the ultimate battle for cuteness. Bring your beautiful, wonderful fur babies. Let them battle each other. Or if you want to just show off how cute your wonderful animal is, there's a good way to do that as well too. We had a little bit for everybody there, and of course, it's all a part of the Shacknews experience. You can be a winner as well, like 8 Mikey and the man with the briefcase, or you can win Shacknews for life, like in my opinion, like Prof Robot did, aka Blake Morse. Okay. Last but certainly not least, of course, shoot us a follow on Twitter as well too. This is Denny Von Doom, of course, our technical director, doing a good job at directing all the technical stuff that I don't know how to do. And then, of course, you can follow me as well. I don't really do anything cool at Shacknews. I just do this here, and I sometimes write occasionally. But the real hero, of course, is Denny Von Doom. And follow us. Our company's real because I guess according to our wonderful friends at Twitter, we're verified now. We're worth the verification check mark. So we are a real company, I guess. No, all jokes aside, We have been around literally since the very beginning of gaming and esports, covering all these wonderful topics in the gaming hemisphere, and it doesn't get much more cooler than Shacknews, friends. Remember, hashtag do it for Shacknews, and always remember this, if you nothing else, if it ain't Shaq, guess what? It's probably fucking whack, okay? So with that in mind, friends, we're going to close it out right there. We will see you in a little bit. We got some more gaming action coming your way here at Shacknews. Keep it locked. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Peace.
Ah!